We're not late. We're precisely on time. It's, yeah, this is exactly when we meant to start, right?
Hello. Yes. Yes. Is my sound working?
Um, they can hear enough of you, probably.
Hear enough.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. Yeah,
All
you're,
right.
it's working. Perfect. So, yes, I hope they can hear me. Yeah, looks good. Okay, hey. All right, we're live. Everything's functioning. Nothing fell apart. Smo did not jinx it for us horribly.
The computer did not explode.
Also, says there's a child not mine screaming next to me because she didn't want ice cream. Kids are wild. Like, throwing a tantrum because you didn't want dessert. Quick, can you mute for the rest of the stream a tune? But I have such valuable opinions and insights to share on everyone's favorite game.
I have a feeling that this stream is going to be a lot of me face palming.
No, no. It's gonna be great. I feel like we're gonna see eye to eye on everything, and we're gonna have such mutual respect. Um, it's gonna be great.
No, just knowing your opinions and stuff like that, I feel like we're going to have the opposite opinions because that's what
Oh,
normally happens.
impossible. We both like the game. How far off could we be?
Do we both like the game?
It's pretty good. You know, I give it a thumb up.
Thumbs up. Okay.
Lawless is ending friendships one bad take at a time. That is that the tagline for the podcast?
Could
Like,
be. It honestly should be.
Hatun has
Oh,
palms
only
ready.
only one of us have bad takes though, and it's not me.
I well that if it's not you, then who else could it be in this duo? I'm
I
trying to.
wonder.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, we have many things to talk about. But I guess first of all, how are you doing, Zaiga?
I'm doing great, doing wonderful.
That's good. I'm. You're kind of like I don't know how much you want to talk about it on stream, but it sounds like you're having some good stuff going on lately.
Oh yeah, definitely. I actually got a new job finally,
Yeah.
and well, it's a different job than what I have currently because a lot of you know that I work at a bike shop.
Right.
So, um, well, before that, I started to work on getting this one job for the government.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, for the government, it's like so much red tape you have to go through.
Everything's in triplicate.
Yeah, everything's slow. And I started it in like June. I started the whole process
Which is
last June.
crazy to me.
And then I had like the interview in August. The interview went really well. And then, yeah, this is the one I mentioned months ago.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing saga since then.
It's been like an ongoing saga of like at me having to resubmit my uh, background check like 4 times. And then finally, I get like a call on February morning,
Mm-hmm.
going like, "Hey, we want to offer you that job." And I like did a double take, and I'm like, "What?" And yeah, and I'm starting at the end of the month, and it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
you
just
have to.
really, I'm just really excited to make more and um, potentially move out
Right.
and spend more on gotcha games.
Well, I don't know about that third thing, but um, I guess you do you.
Hey, dude, Hawkeye Story already takes so much of my money, and I
What are
just
you,
want it to take more. Okay,
what are you doing over there? All right.
I'm telling you right now,
Benji says no. Stop
Benji's
before it's
here.
too late.
Ben, Benji's here. Oh my
Gasp.
gosh.
Is an acquaintance of yours.
Yes, it's going to mine.
Gasp.
But yeah. So yeah, exciting things happening.
Yeah.
Um, other than that, I've just been playing, Hawkeye Star Rail, occasionally Final Fantasy 14. I haven't been playing much Final Fantasy at the moment, because I finished getting the tomes for the recent EX trial or whatever.
Hmm.
So I kind of stopped and then only play like 3 times a week.
So there's never been a better time for this topic than it sounds like.
Oh, dude, I've been playing this topic for a decade.
It's
So
a long time.
yeah, I think I'm at that 10 years point. So
Wow. I forget. You started in 2.0 though, right? Or did you start in 1 point?
no, I started in 2.1.
Okay.
It was the PS4 beta that I
Wow.
started in.
Okay. That's
So
been a hot
way
second.
back, yeah, way back when the PS4 like just barely came out and all that stuff.
Wow.
Anyway, how are things with you?
Pretty good. I got to play with a jackhammer all day, and so I had
Oh
a good
boy,
time.
are your like muscles massaged?
Oh, everything's all loose.
Everything
Um,
shaking?
I haven't stopped vibrating for since I got home a couple hours ago.
Yeah,
I nearly jackhammered my foot, because that thing likes to wobble and jostle, sometimes if it hits rebar. So
yeah,
it was super fun. Like actually though, this is the first time I've been allowed to play with the jackhammer,
yeah.
because usually there's somebody else on the job with like more experience or like knows how to use it or whatever. But today, like, it was me and like one other new guy, and so it was my job to basically fake knowing how to use a jackhammer, and it was great.
Okay.
Like, so it went really well. We didn't break any pipes. I don't think that we weren't supposed to. But anyway, like we've been like remodeling like a basement for this old house, and so we
Are
had
you
like
sure? Are you sure they wanted to like let you like handle the jackhammer? Because like everything you touches breaks. So
I mean, I'm not entirely sure that my boss knows I was using the jackhammer. Um,
oh, okay, okay.
to be fair, because there's been another guy on the job, like, because like this has been like a multi-person job site. And there's been another guy out there who's like more experienced, like with all the big tools. But he's called in sick the last couple of days, so it's been like me and this other new guy. And like, to be clear, we're not ruining anything in this house. We are being productive. Like we know what we're doing, but
Yeah,
we're just like we're not like with decades of experience under our belt. We're just kind of doing things and then making sure we don't accidentally cut through gas lines or something.
yeah.
But it's it's fun. I like that kind of stuff. Like part of what I really like about my job is that you get to try new things, and you know, so that was my fun.
How's everything else been? I know you've been having computer troubles, so
Oh, right. I mean, I kind of explained this story to most people, but my computer died suddenly and completely like 2 weeks ago, and I tried desperately to fix it on my own for a few days because one, I have pride, and two, I thought the warranty had expired on my computer build, but it turns out I have a 5-year warranty. So when I realized that, I just called up the computer store. I was like, "Hey, this thing's mega broken," and then they took it, and then they figured out as a bad RAM card, which is way cheaper than what I thought it was. It was the problem.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember I was trying to help you as well.
yeah,
And
like you were kind of
I was thinking it was the video card, but I guess it was the RAM card.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like when like because I was basically like I was like because like I wasn't getting like any like signal to my monitors, and
Yeah.
like when you like try to troubleshoot all the possible causes for that, it's like anything. And
Yeah.
then also because I don't have my monitors, I don't have like a way to like run my own like system tests.
Yeah.
And so it was great. Yeah, so then they got me a new RAM stick after it took them 3 days to find a RAM stick in the back room of their store. Um, but eventually they got it.
They
I don't,
eventually got it.
I don't know. The guy that I was talking to, like for most of the process, he's new, at least new to me. Like the last
Oh,
3 times I brought him my computer, I haven't seen him before. But then the last time I went in, a guy that I had talked to before was like, "No, yeah, we have RAM." That other guy is maybe just not. Maybe he's just new. I don't know. But it's fine. We have computers. It doesn't crash anymore.
but now they know you over. They know you by name over there, right?
They do. I am that guy for the store because I think I'm officially like. I mean, I've probably brought in my computer more than anyone else because like they really pride themselves on their like their low warranty rate for like callbacks and stuff. And
Yeah.
this was my 4th time in there in like a year and a half. So,
Oh boy.
which I mean, like at least like when they tell me the problems, like it's never something that like I've done. It's just coincidentally happened to me. So
So in my bike shop, we have a guy that's so similar to that to
yeah,
you. He like bought a bike from us and then like has like brought it in like nearly every month, like twice a month or something like that, because there's something wrong with it. And he's
really,
honestly just cursed because we like fix everything, everything's great, and we give it back to him, and then he brings it back within like a week and says, "Oh, this has stopped working."
yeah. I mean, it. I really do think there are people like that out there that just like they seem to get more than their lion's share of bad luck
Yeah,
for whatever reason. And
yeah, and
like,
you're one of those people.
I mean, I like to think like I'm reasonably fortunate in a lot of aspects of my life. Technology is just not one of them. I just I don't
Yeah,
know.
technology is probably everything in their power is like stopping you from streaming and everything, but you like persevere.
it's it's actually unbelievable. Like I don't know if Smo is still hanging out around in the chat, but like my first 4 months of streaming was like it was like every hour I spent streaming was like followed by like 3 hours of tech support with Smo, trying to figure out like why the stream crashed. It was so bad early on. It was wild.
Yeah, I think I remember bits and pieces.
Yeah, I'm sure you heard some of the cursing from my room.
Yeah,
But
I remember looking at you very exasperated, and you were just like looked like you've lived 1,000 lives some days.
it was so bad. But it all worked out because look at where we are now. We have a podcast, making it.
Yeah,
Um,
that publishes a video once every 4 weeks.
we are a monthly podcast, as it turns out. We reaching tens of people every month. It's awesome,
Yeah,
but it's honestly I don't know. It's very fun for me. Like I'm somebody like I I don't know if I like struggles per se, but I I refuse to lose to the universe. I guess I'm very stubborn that way.
yeah, I know.
So
We know. We all know.
shush.
We all know. I'm sure Hatun and Lala can attest to that fact.
But anyway, I see Carson's over on Twitch. Job didn't even need a jackhammer as a painting job. Yeah, we've really messed it up. But
Anyway, our top our have you heard, before we go get into our topic, have you been oh my gosh. Have you been watching any anime at all recently or
yeah, I mean, I've been that's kind of like talking to him about like I'm a little bit behind on a lot of the new season stuff. Like there's a couple of shows I'm staying caught up with. Um like Delicious and Dungeon has been really fun. Been watching that.
yeah.
I really enjoy that one. Unwanted Undead Adventure I still really like. Those are some of my favorites. Sorry, excuse
Have
me for
you started watching Free Run at all?
uh I gotta I'm trying to psych myself up for it because I feel like I hopefully I like it. I guess I don't know.
That show is now in my top 10 anime.
Wow,
Yeah. It's not even done yet. And it's in my top 10.
that's pretty good. Is it supposed to be
Yeah.
like will the series complete with the end of this season, or is it gonna be like a multi-season kind of thing? Is there
Um
any clue to that? Also, bless you.
uh there I, there hasn't been they haven't said much on it.
Right,
But
'cause I
there's
mean,
going to be 28 episodes, so
right. I mean, because I know like the general premise of the show kind of seems like one of those ones where like it could go kind of as long or as short as they want, since like there isn't like specifically an end goal, is there? It's mostly about like
um
her experience, like her
there is an end
experience.
goal.
Okay.
They're on a journey to go somewhere.
Okay.
Um but yeah, they're I don't know how much of the manga because I haven't really read it, so
Hmm.
um but yeah, the anime is fantastic. Like just the way it's directed and just like really vibes with me and just how like relaxing it is for a slice of life anime
Hmm.
uh is pretty great. And even when it has its like tension moments, it's still pretty slice of life.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I finally finished Jujutsu Kaisen season 2.
Wow. Just
Um,
so timely.
yeah, a few days ago I finished it. I stopped for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why I stopped. Um, I think it was because I wanted to. I was so tired of waiting on cliffhangers,
Sure. That can be
and so like
obnoxious.
right, yeah, so like right at the start of season 1. I mean season 2. I got like maybe 5 episodes in before I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put this on hold.
Yeah.
And I did. And I like waited for it to be over. And then once it was over, I kept on putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, putting it off until I finally finished it. And man, it was something. Yeah,
What was it?
it was something.
Was season 2 pretty decent?
Yeah, it was pretty decent. It was pretty decent.
That's
It,
good.
it, it was more like just like all like the shit hitting the fan, you know? Like there was just I like halfway through, I was like, "What am I watching right now? Am I watching the same anime that I started like a couple of years ago?"
Hmm.
So yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Um, I kind of want to read the manga, but I also kind of don't want to read the manga at the same time. and just like wait
Right.
for the anime to come out.
Right.
So
'Cause
I
I'm
might
sure
just do
they'll
that.
continue it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
well,
So
very fair.
plus there's a lot of memes nowadays about Jujutsu Kaisen. It's so mainstream, especially in my like sphere
Your
with
mega
like
nerdy anime sphere.
yeah, with the Honkai Star Rail sphere and stuff like that. There's always Jujutsu Kaisen references everywhere. So in the community.
Sure.
So yeah, but yeah, other than that, like this season has been really great. Uh,
No,
there's been a
there's
lot of good stuff.
no for sure. There's a lot of shows that I I want to watch more of. I'm just like I'm kind of wanting to wait for more of the show to be out before I start watching more of it because
Yeah,
watching like one episode at a time like really kills me sometimes.
I completely agree. There's a couple of them, like um, solo leveling is one that's really hard to watch weekly because of the cliffhangers. Um, and free ren's really hard to watch week by week, not because there's cliffhangers, it's more just because you just want more.
Sure.
um like Classroom of the Lead as well is like pretty intense sometimes. Like I don't know, but there's a lot of good stuff.
Oh yeah. Have you can't remember if I think I talked about this before, but have you seen any Bucci have you seen Bucci this season at
No,
all? It's
no.
very good. It's it's you might like it, Zaiga. It's very JoJo esque. Like the art style is like very JoJo. And it's just like really over the top fight scenes and just like I've never seen a show quite like it. Like as far as like how it looks and carries itself.
Yeah.
But it's very fun. It's about this kid who basically he he finds a gun that contains a genie, and the genie promises to make him the like the most manly man that's ever lived.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy. And
Okay.
that one's a that's one of the ones like I'm wanting like more episodes to come out because like every episode ends with him like about to have like another fight, and then I have to like wait till next week to see like what happens for the fight, and they keep doing that. So
Are you caught up with Mashal?
I'm not. I watched the first couple episodes of Mashal, and I was enjoying it. Are
Some
you
good
caught up?
stuff. Yes.
No,
uh,
Mashal's fun. That one's just a fun show.
yeah, the most recent episode was actually like so funny.
Oh
And
yeah,
like there was a moment in there where I just was like dying because of what like Mashal, the main character guy or whatever his name is, was doing.
right.
And um yeah, it's that one's really fun. I'm glad that you recommended it. So yeah,
And
I could take one of your recommendations, okay? I could take
yeah,
one.
we're winning. We'll slowly win him over, guys.
And because I took one, you need to take one from me
I watched
with free rent.
Madoka.
No, you didn't. I'm talking about free rent, not
Oh, but that's yeah, I could. Then Lawless said we could watch it for anime night. Maybe that would force me to watch it, I guess.
oh dude, that would be amazing. You should watch it for anime night.
Possibly. I know we got two more episodes left of the One Piece live action,
How is that,
which
by the way?
it's actually been surprisingly good.
I
Like,
don't believe you. I don't believe you.
well, no, like the actors are like really good. Like they got like really good cast for it. The it really rides the perfect line of like being like very animated without being like cringy, like it's trying to be an anime kind of a thing. Like they've rewritten the story like fairly noticeably, but that's mostly just to kind of condense the plot. So they kind of like there's some characters that are written out. There's some things that are kind of shortened up, but it doesn't like feel rushed or weird
Hmm.
within the context of like how they're building the world.
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know, I like it. Like I don't know, I look forward to it every week. See, even Smo and Lal agree, and they never like what I like.
Okay. 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 I guess I guess you like it because you could actually like you know it's in English so you could understand it instead of reading because I know you can't read. So
Well, look, just because we can all agree that Water 7 was the worst arc in the series, and also it might help that they made Usopp like super hot in the live action. Like he's actually like Usopp's might be like the most like different character in the live action because like he's not like as like cartoonishly cowardly as he is in the manga and anime. Like he's still pretty cowardly, but it's not like to the insane degree that he is in
yeah.
the in other versions. Lalo's getting mad about something I don't understand. Um, Benji says in the live action anime. Live action Usopp is a good looking guy. I mean, anime Usopp isn't. I mean, well, he's
Yeah.
not. He's not great looking in the anime. Actually, he's a bit of a troll. But
Live action Usopp. Okay, let me see this. I don't see it. I mean, sure. Anyway,
so now that we can all agree that we're all gonna go watch One Piece live action, what's today's topic actually about?
oh yeah, Final Fantasy.
Cool.
So just to give everyone a bit of premise, I know we kind of like talked about this before,
Right.
but um I've been playing, yeah, like I said, I've been playing since uh 2.1, which is like yeah, PS4 beta, long time ago. I was there for um I wasn't there for Heaven's Ward release because I
Wow.
was in Japan at the time.
That's actually I remember that because didn't you have like a friend who was like sending you like patch notes?
Yes, I had a friend that was sending me patch notes
I
through email.
remember that specifically because like I was so confused that
Yeah.
like I didn't understand like what the like I was trying to respect your hobby, I guess.
Yeah, Heaven's Word 2.0, I 3.0 was like the only uh patch that I have not been there on launch. But I was there for 3.1 and onwards.
Hmm.
So I've witnessed every single expansion release except for that one.
Fair.
And then my other kind of experience on the game is that I've rated I rated in Heaven's Ward, late Heaven's Ward. I rated a lot um in Stormblood. That was the time where I rated the most.
Oh, okay.
And then I rated in Endwalker at in the middle, just for Abyssos. But other than that, um, I really like playing the game at a high level, as well as being a crafter main as well. I
Mm-hmm.
started getting into crafting in Shadowbringers because I hated the raid cycle in Shadowbringers. So
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't really care for beating it. Didn't like any of the gear or anything like that. So I needed to find something to do. So I got into crafting with a friend who like taught me everything. And I've been crafting at a high level since then.
Well,
Um, I have not really been in a guild. But the last guild I was in Heaven's Ward, and then that fell apart, and I haven't joined a guild since. We currently have a guild that we're in right now that me and you made. Uh,
It's true.
but yeah, it's there really isn't much people in it, and um, yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
need
hoping
to.
at one time, at some point, I can like start like recruiting people and actually talking to people, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
as
But
the
it's so
wise
hard.
guild master.
It's so hard. I'll tell you this right now. It's so hard because like um you have to transfer to Aether to do anything, and it's really upsetting. And I hope it gets better. I'm really hoping it gets better, but I don't think it will for many years.
I mean, I don't. I feel like. Sorry. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like when Dawn Trail releases, like there'll probably be like a brand new influx of new players
Yeah,
that'll probably start
I'm
filling up the
hoping so.
servers.
I'm hoping so. Really hoping so. So
Lala, don't read my mind. That's rude.
So yeah,
Um,
that's kind of like my history with the game. What is your history? I know it a bit, but
you have been at every step of my history with this game, like
yes,
essentially. So like, I will say, and I might even I might try to find this to post to be like I still have because like the first time I heard about Final Fantasy 14 like at all was in a copy of Game Informer magazine that I used to be subscribed to like back in the day, and
yeah, I remember those.
they had a big old article back when Final Fantasy 14 first came out, all about how Final Fantasy 14 was like the worst MMO ever made.
Oh
And I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
ah, dang it, I guess it's the worst MMO ever made. And that's like all I thought about it until I met you in Japan, and you were like really into Final Fantasy 14. I was like, I heard that game sucks though. Like what? And then you preached the gospel of 14 to me. Uh,
yeah,
Almost as often as Monica. I think Monica is still more often, but it was it was neck and neck.
yeah.
Um, and I think when I first got back from Japan, I think I did because I actually I do have because I have Final Fantasy 14 on PS3. I think I must have bought it around then, and I tried like the 30-day trial for all of like I think I like 4 levels in,
Yeah.
and I can't even remember like what I did at that point or like I literally I probably played it for like a couple hours and then didn't mess with it again until about 2 years ago when you had finally talked to me so much about 14 that I was like, well, I guess I'll play it. I know what I'm doing.
But
It's
yeah,
hard. Like it's
I think it was the biggest thing that I had
shush
mentioned to
Senna.
you. I think the biggest thing that I mentioned to you was that it's really good for bringing in um people who want to watch your channel. And you were talking about like starting your YouTube channel and streaming and all that. And I'm like,
Right.
well, if you play Final Fantasy, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to watch you because people like watching new players go through the story. It's been a big thing in Final Fantasy for a long time, and a lot of people like watching reactions of like certain scenes and all that jazz. So I was like,
Right.
hey, this would be a good thing to get people in.
Yeah. Like I mean, it really was like that's all right because and I think and I've mentioned this before. Like I used to have a YouTube channel. This probably would have been like 2017, 2018 when I was posting on that channel, and it never really got a ton of traction.
Yeah.
But it was also like it was like pre-recorded videos, and so I kind of wanted to try the live streaming thing, but I kept dawdling about it. This is actually this is a crazy factoid, but my model for Grayson, I had it made like at the end of 2019, I think,
Yeah.
You'll know that I didn't start streaming until like 2021. So I had this model for a while, and I was really dithering on actually starting streaming for
Yeah.
quite some time.
Yeah, I
But
remember.
14 was a really good excuse because like it was like a big long game. I kind of wanted to play it, and then streaming would be like a good way of like I don't know. It would kind of be like a way to like force me to finally sit down and play the game, but also like it's like a really long game that forced me to like keep streaming for a while because like I kind of committed to, like it's like I can't stop streaming until I finish 14 was kind of like my idea.
Yeah.
If I get traction before I finish, then great. If I don't, then I'm done. And I really underestimate how long the game is because I just barely finished Stormblood. But
And I remember Bright-Eyed Grayson back in the day thought he would finish this game in 1 year.
yeah, I was gonna be
But now it's been 3. Now it's been 3.
I was gonna finish 14. I was gonna get N1 by the end of the year. It was gonna be
And
great.
one, I thought you did already get N1 by the end of the year.
You got to get N1 every year. Otherwise, what are you doing with your life?
Every year, yeah, exactly.
N1 being the highest rating you can get in the Japanese standardized like second language exams. God.
Now, to like kind of like go into it a little bit. Now I know this is gonna sound like I'm a bad person, okay?
Well, I mean, you are, but go on.
But I haven't really watched any of your Final Fantasy playthroughs.
That hurts. No, it's
I know it hurts, okay?
our
I know.
friendship.
I've tuned in a couple times, maybe about 5 times.
It's fine. Sure. No, it's actually fine. But anyway, go on.
It's mostly because like whenever I tune in, you're like jumping around in a circle and just like
Shh.
talking about something and not playing the game.
Wait.
So
Come on to my podcast. Accuse me of goofing around.
seriously though, 9 times out of 10 whenever I click on your stream or your Final Fantasy stream, it's that.
I mean, it's fair, and honestly, my analytics show the same thing. Like how many people like click on watch for like 5 seconds and then leave. And it's like, yeah, oops.
Anyway, what is to kind of like start off? How was kind of like your experience starting out in the game? Like the first expansion, A Realm Reborn, and just kind of like your thoughts on it.
I mean, honestly, like the first real emotion I probably had was like kind of fear because the game was like so big. Like,
Yeah.
because I started off in Gridania, by the way, and like each of like the sections you could like go to like were so like unbelievably massive compared to like any other RPG I'd ever played.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this game is so big, like this is gonna be impossible to finish. Um, but like
Yeah.
I really did enjoy like I mean, and maybe like this is like me being weird, but like I really loved like that like because like it's like the first 20, 30 levels that are kind of like maybe like the first like 20 levels that are like kind of like tutorial-ish, like you kind of like stay just in like the one city state for that whole first chunk,
Yeah.
kind of like learning the game and getting like a little bit of like lore specific to that city and whatever class you choose and stuff. I really liked that. I thought, like, I mean, I really loved the lore of Gridania too.
Yeah.
Like, it really, I thought it was like really fascinating. I thought the people were very mean, but that's also Gridania. Um, but no, like, and I loved the Conjurers Guild. It had really great lore. I got really invested in all the characters in the Conjurers Guild.
Yeah.
Which that really paid off in the long run to get invested in those guys. Um,
Yeah.
which It's a consistent problem for me. Is I seem to constantly care about the wrong parts of the game. Um,
Yeah,
but
we know. We know.
the snooty tree hungers. Law is right. Um, but no, yeah. So like I really got invested in like in the world as being built, and it's like that's what was really kind of keeping me like pushing on like stream to stream was I wanted to see like more of what was going on around. Because like the more I saw, the more like there was like hints of like even more stuff going on elsewhere. It was all really cool to explore it and see what else is going on and learn more. And those Scion guys were kind of weird, but I guess we'll go hang out at their weird underground fortress and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing that FF does pretty well. Is kind of like the world building is pretty good. Um, like the world around at the start, it really makes you want to just like figure out more about the world and all that stuff. So
right. Okay, sorry. I
drinking
guess
water.
yeah. Sorry, I had to get a glass of water. I got like something in my throat all of a sudden. But uh,
No, you're good.
to answer Lala's question, I think the last white mage job I did was level 50. Um, and that's something I something I kind of regret, I guess, is like because I really enjoyed like I think when it really comes down to it, I think white mage probably was like the most fun I had like as a class like playing with, and I think I got scared out of playing white mage because I was it was starting to reach a point where like playing as a healer but not knowing the dungeons was going to be like a very difficult thing.
Uh, not necessarily.
It
I
sure seemed
mean,
that way because I was struggling. Um, but
like, well, I understand why you struggle with healing.
hmm,
It's because you don't really have very much reaction time.
I do not.
And
It is
yeah, healing is a very reactive class.
right, and I guess that's yeah,
And once you get to like I would say like maybe the Stone Vigil, I think that's what it is kind of like when you start like the healing starts to ramp up a bit.
right.
Because like in the earlier dungeons, you can really literally just like not really do much.
You can just kind of spam cure 2 and hang out for the most part. You
Yeah.
can throw a rock sometimes.
No, you should be throwing a rock every time. But
Yeah.
that's besides the point. Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I understand that that's kind of like it's not really your strong suit. And I know
right.
you've probably are feel more comfortable with like a DPS nowadays, right?
Well, not really. The, the gameplay in 14 is like a really mixed bag for me, honestly. At this point, like
How
there's
so?
like some DPS I do enjoy playing. Like I liked the rotation for Dragoon, like up through Heavensward.
Okay.
I thought that was like it was like a good balance of like it felt like very active and fun,
Yeah.
and then Monk kind of felt that way for Stormblood, where like it felt like there's like mostly stuff I can be doing at any given moment,
Yeah.
which I liked, but a lot like I mean, in Summoner was fine, but Summoner's like there's like not any like I guess it's like it seems like there's like either like the DPS that get extremely complicated because like they get like more and more things, or you can fall back on Summoner that like never has anything. Like it's like too simple. I can't seem to find a class that's like a bit of a middle ground there.
Um
But
yeah, summer Summoner is pretty brainless. I'm not gonna lie. It literally like stays the same the entire time, so
right?
it's understandable.
Which is it's nice that it's like good and simple, but like I don't know, like it's also like aesthetically, it's not really like the kind of class like I want to play, and I guess that's maybe part of my struggle with how the gameplay works in 14 is that like the aesthetic of like classes that like look really fun to play, but
Yeah.
then like the actual like place like having to like play as that class is like not fun to me. Like because like I don't know, I've always been a big fan of like black mages and white mages,
Yeah.
but like black mage seems like absurdly not fun to play for the most part in 14.
Um, I actually disagree with you, Lala. I do not think you should try Reaper. I think it's way too complicated.
If it's got like
I
one, but
yeah, I think if there's any class that I think you should choose, I think it should be Red Mage.
yeah,
But that's just my opinion.
sure,
I think that Red Mage has a good mix of easy and like relaxing and stuff that you could kind of like min max. I think
right.
you would enjoy that job.
Seeing Carson and
Um
Hatun also saying red mage is pretty decent.
yeah. Whereas Reaper is a bit much. It's a bit much even for me at a high level because the positionals and all that.
Right, right.
And I think you should stay away from positionals as much as you can. So
Hmm.
like red mage would be a whole lot better option.
Right, right.
But that's just my opinion, and I've told you for a million times that you should try that class, but you never listen to me. You never listen to old Zaiga.
He doesn't use them as Sam or Monk. Oh, is positionals? Actually, I knew positionals were a thing with Samurai, and that's why I usually flank when I usually sit on the side of them.
Yeah, there's uh Samurai has them, Monk has them, and Dragoon has them.
Hmm.
All of
Weird.
the melee classes have.
Monk positionals are a pretty big deal. Is that why I never do like any damage as a monk?
Yep.
Because I'm just like spinning in a circle, just punching wildly.
Yep.
Dang it.
Yeah, but
Welp.
anyway, um, but yeah, something that's like not too hard for you to do, but uh, fun because I think that red mage is really fun as personally, and
Right.
plus you always get you can help out the party as well with rezzing and stuff like that very easily. So
Right.
you're kind of like um kind of like a Swiss Army knife in a way. You
Hmm.
could do melee combat, you could do range combat, you can do support stuff. It's kind of like that your jack of all trades type of thing.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
I may have to try it eventually and see what it's like, but
so
hmm.
out of so you've tried tanking, right? What do you think about that?
Um, it's fine. It's it's not so bad because I guess because like as the tank you kind of get to control the pace, and
Yeah.
so I'm able to move things at a more gradual pace, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you learned to pull wall to wall yet?
I haven't really. It's not something I'd want to learn. I don't think, to be completely honest. Like that's probably the thing was like I think I would have fun as a tank, but I think I would frustrate everybody else if I was a tank because I wouldn't want to be speeding things. Like people always like want to do dungeons as fast as possible, and I like to hang out there. Like I don't feel the need to
Um,
rush, but
So I can tell you why people like to rush.
Hmm.
It's because the game is boring. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really, really boring. If you're especially if you're a healer and the tank goes really slow. It's really boring.
Right.
Like especially in the later dungeons once you get to Endwalker
Mm-hmm.
and Shadowbringers, stuff like that. When you go more slow, especially when you're going with randos, um, you're gonna frustrate a lot of people. I get frustrated. I'll be 100% honest. I get really frustrated whenever a tank goes slow. It's
Right.
because all I'm doing is spamming one button. I don't have to heal or anything. All I do is just spam holy, and that is it.
Right.
There's no challenge, and um, I feel like that's that way as well for DPS because DPS, when there's not a lot of enemies, it goes really slow, and you're not doing as much. You're not getting to the boss fast enough,
Right. I mean,
and
yeah.
and not only that, but it's extremely easy to take. It's extremely easy. It's a 2 button rotation, and then you weave in your cooldowns. It's really easy.
Sure.
Um, so that's kind of like my take on it. Is that like it makes sense for you because you mostly go with people in your stream, and you haven't really experienced the party fighter side. So
Right. I mean, I
and
for most
I'm not
of
gonna
the. Hmm?
and before that, I'm not gonna lie and say that um I I like taking the time in dungeons. I do like doing that when on my first playthrough. Like on a dungeon, I always run with trusts on my first dungeon clear.
Hmm.
And I take in the sights, take in everything, and yeah. But once that's done with trusts and I like taking in the entire dungeon, and the beautiful thing about going with trusts is that they go your pace and they teach you the mechanics of the of the game, of the dungeon, which is nice.
Hmm.
So, because you could just be like, oh, where, what, the boss is doing something, and then you see the trusts start moving, and then you're like, okay, I'm just gonna follow them. You follow them, and then you're safe. So, um,
Right. Right.
being in a trust situation really helps with your first time,
Hmm.
and then it makes you more confident for when you go into the next one because in a regular party fighter situation, you're always going to be going fast.
Hmm.
And um, because it's boring because expert roulette, there's this roulette that's called expert roulette when you get
Mm-hmm.
to max level. And it's literally two dungeons. Two dungeons every like 3 to 4 months. And then one rotates out and another one comes in.
Hmm.
And we've literally had the same dungeon now for like it's gonna be like 6 months, maybe longer.
Wow.
And that dungeon, like, I despise that dungeon because I've done it so many times. It's so boring. And but yeah. Anyway,
Right.
I'm getting on a tangent. I'm getting on a tangent.
That's
Okay,
all
I'm
good.
sorry. I'm getting on a huge tangent. I'm sorry.
No, I like to hear how
Okay.
what the vets think.
Yeah, like um anyway, my going back to what I was saying is that I understand wanting it to for those that want to go slow. That's more like their pace. And I feel like if you're gonna do that, you shouldn't queue in, and you should just go with friends, stuff like that. Go with it, go your own pace with friends. But if you're
Right.
like queuing in to something, you're gonna go the max speed because you don't want to waste everyone else's time. That's my thought, at least. And I
Right.
don't want to bring everyone down just because I want to go slower or something like that. That's my thought.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Oops.
it's a long way to get to that conclusion. I know that
Right.
might ruffle some people's feathers, but that's just me as an extreme vet about what my thought is on it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's.
And yeah,
I guess
dun-
I kind of get that. Like, and maybe
dungeon experience at high level is it's really easy, especially in Endwalker. It's really easy because you're so overpowered at your current level that there isn't really much you could do. Like
hmm,
like um like let's say you're paired with a warrior tank right now,
sure.
and you're playing a new dungeon,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and I'm the healer.
Right.
And if I'm playing Sage, for instance, I am never going to throw out a heal on the main tank. It's and I could stand in every single AoE and live on trash mobs
Hmm.
because the trash mobs do no damage. There's so many times that like right now, and I challenge this to anyone that's playing right now, and it has been doing expert roulette. Okay, you can literally stand in an AOE and take pretty little damage and still live. Like no AOEs one shot you, no AOEs do massive damage. They just do a tiny tick of your HP.
Hmm.
And uh, the the skill gap for current dungeons has really tanked, especially in Endwalker. It's extremely easy. Like every one of them are very easy, and they are very forgiving, very forgiving.
Hmm.
So, whereas in Stormblood and Heaven's Ward, they were a bit more hardcore than what they are now.
Hmm.
Yeah, and of course, if you get scared, you have personals. You have personals, and if you should be spamming bloodbath anyway on when you're doing trash mobs. Just stand in the AOE and then just AOE. Do your AOE attack and then bloodbath, and then you'll won't even bother the healer because the healer's not doing anything except DPSing. That's like that's because the tank barely takes any damage if they know how to play the game.
Hmm.
Anyway, I'm on a huge tangent again. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
all good.
I'm stealing the show on this podcast because of my grievances of this game. Okay.
No, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and the reason why I was saying before is that warrior is like the easiest tank in the world is
Mm-hmm.
because they have a skill cooldown that allows them to heal whenever they attack. So they do
Wow.
their rotation, and then when you do your rotation against multiple enemies and you press this button, you're going to heal like maximum HP, maximum HP, maximum HP over and over again
Oh.
because your AoE counts for the heal counts for every single enemy that you hit. So,
Hmm.
anyway, I digress. That's kind of
nonsense.
like the vet of me about how I view dungeons
Hmm.
in this game. Does that kind of make sense in a roundabout way?
Uh, sure. I guess. Um, I mean, yeah, sure. I get what you're talking about. I guess I haven't seen that part of the game yet, so I can't like exactly picture it, but like I know what you mean in terms of, and like the game definitely has like a bit of a scaling issue. I think in general,
Yeah, honestly, it does.
but I think
The
that's more an MMO problem than it is necessarily specific to this game.
ever since Endwalker, on Endwalker they did a stat squish at the beginning of the game. So kind of like a lot of the earlier dungeons and stuff kind of got adjusted, and they kind of do more damage. That's why I think the hardest roulette in the game is probably 50, 60, 70 roulette. Just because doing these old dungeons, sometimes you can't like when you wall to wall, um, it doesn't really scale very well, and then the tank starts taking a whole lot of damage that you don't expect. And
Hmm.
that's happened to me before a couple times.
Hmm.
So anyhow,
Jen just
anyway,
suggests you tank better. So there you
does
go.
he?
Yeah, it's just
Does he?
that easy.
Yeah, just tank better. Yeah.
That's really the problem here.
Yeah, you could when you're a healer, you could really tell who's a good tank and who's a bad tank.
Yeah.
Um, because if someone's a good tank, you're like, oh, they're not taking a lot of damage here, and you're like, okay, cool. I can chill. I can like watch anime on the side of my monitor, the entire dungeon. But
Yeah.
if they're a bad tank, and you like look away and then you look back and you see that the tank has fallen to like half health, and you're like, oh, I have to do something now.
Yeah. I mean, it is funny. Like when I was playing as a white mage, I could always tell, like within like I don't know, 10 seconds of a dungeon, if I was playing with like a new tank or an experienced tank. Whereas like even as like a relatively new healer, it's funny like how clear that is. Like because you're just like, wow, I don't get to cast any of my attack buttons. I'm just spending all my MP keeping this guy alive. Okay, like,
Yeah, exactly.
but
And Jen, I would not say white mage is the easiest healer. Easiest healer is sage, especially in a dungeon setting. Especially in a dungeon setting, sage is the easiest healer to play.
right,
But I digress. I'm mostly a healer main in this game. I played healer for many years. I started out as a black mage, and uh, after black mage, I was kind of like forced into the healing role by a friend because they were raiding in the coils in second coil, and they were like, "Oh, we need a healer. You're a healer. You need to come." And then because
yeah,
I literally just finished leveling white mage, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, I'm done leveling white mage." I thought that was pretty fun. Then my friend was like, "No, you're coming to raid this week," and I'm like, "Huh? What? Huh?" And then
wow,
I was a healer main ever since until till Shadowbringers, where I was like, I'm a Dark Knight main now,
yeah,
and because I was so upset with what they did to Astrologian that I became a tank main. And I still play Dark Knight quite a bit, but I prefer healing whenever I can.
hmm. Fair enough.
And I know for you, you started off with Arcanist, right?
I started off with Conjurer to be a
Oh, you
white
started off Conjurer.
become a white mage.
I
I
thought
didn't.
you started with Arcanist.
No, I didn't touch anything outside. Like I think it was Heavensward before I touched another class besides white mage.
Okay. Okay. I thought I swore that you like leveled it,
I mean, I've
but
leveled Arcanist since then. Like, 'cause I got up to because that becomes Summoner, right?
yeah, yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I think it might have been like during like the patch content, like leading up to Heavensward. 'Cause, like I tried Summoner, then I tried Dragoon. I think I tried Warrior. I tried like a handful of like other classes just to see.
Yeah.
And I really read it. I let a lot of people talk me out of playing as a healer because people were saying it was going to be really hard to be a healer later.
Um,
And it was also like it was fun to do Dragoon for Heavensward because like it was like thematically cool.
yeah.
But then, and I've never liked anything quite as much as I liked playing a healer like the White Mage. But
Yeah. Um, I honestly I wouldn't say that it's super hard at higher levels to do healing. It's sort of like a different thing. It's very reactive. You just need to be good at reactions. Because
right,
you're not going to know, you're especially on your first time on something, you're not going to know the name of the AoE, you're not going to know the name of the tank buster, because that changes every time, right?
sure, maybe.
So, it's just all about reactions, and then at the start, and then once you like get comfortable, it becomes less of a reaction job and more of a pre-planning job.
Right.
Like in
Hmm.
the like for example in the dungeons, um like in the most recent dungeon, uh I know now when every single AoE is going to hit, I know how much damage the tank is going to get hit on the tank busters. I can plan that. I can be like, okay, I know that this he's going to do this move next, this move next, this move next, this move next, and I have these different skills I could use on this thing. So
Hmm.
it becomes once you that's kind of like the cool thing about a healer is that it starts off you're just completely reactionary. You're kind of like in the dark, but then once you've experienced it once, the next time you go in, it's different. And I
Right.
like that.
Hmm.
I like that aspect of it.
Fair.
So
Very fair.
most of the time, it feels like you're just the janitor. You're cleaning up people's messes, especially in like an extreme trial situation. You're often the one cleaning up messes, but every job comes with their ups and downs in Final Fantasy, and uh, yeah.
Right. Right.
Anyway, that's kind of like my spiel on the story and stuff like that. No, not on the story, on like the gameplay
None of the
of Final
story. Yeah, but all
Fantasy.
gameplay.
Yeah, all gameplay of Final Fantasy from a healer's perspective. That's
Sure.
how I see it.
Fair. But yeah.
And
So
Lala, I I don't know why you play Astro on PvP. I mean, the uh the best healer in PvP is White Mage. White Mage is absolutely like busted in PvP. I know because I made it in PvP.
yeah.
Imagine having a skill that could just like take one person out of the fight for like a couple seconds. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm again going off super tangent. I have so much to say about this game
Yeah,
because
sure.
I have this love hate relationship with it. I'll be completely honest. It's been love hate for like a couple of years now.
Sure.
I love it so much in some ways, but I hate it so much in some other ways.
Right, fair. No, I mean, and we can definitely like, I mean, we can do several episodes on just talking about 14 like different aspects of it if we wanted to.
Yeah,
It's like
maybe.
it's a big game, so
But anyway, I guess we should move on. I kind of want to gauge your go back to story.
sure, sure.
Um, because that's kind of like the main thing that Final Fantasy is about. It's what
Right.
everyone talks about. And we kind of like talked about the story of A Realm Reborn. You said that you kind of like liked it at the very beginning, but um, how did your feeling change when you got into kind of like the A Realm Reborn patches and kind of like finishing up A Realm Reborn
Right. So
without too many spoilers, just in case some
right.
people in here are still in the middle of the story or haven't done the story yet.
My Hitchens says Gray hates everyone except Thank. That's not entirely true. I love Thancred so much that it looks like I hate everyone else by comparison. um, but no. So um, yeah, I guess like speaking generally, so like the base ARR, I really honestly enjoyed it. Like, um, at least like overall I enjoyed it. Like there's a lot of grievances I have with how like the final few hours of it play out in terms of like the conclusion. Like
Like the Praetorium, or are we talking about Praetorium, or are we talking about the Parting Glass?
I don't even know what that second thing is you just said. Um,
The Ulda cutscene.
oh, I mean that's a whole other like that's patch content, um,
So
but
you're
like,
talking about Praetorium.
yeah, base ARR. Like I feel
Okay.
like um, and I felt very cheated in terms of how the game had been building up like those like kind of like four major kind of villains of the Garlean Empire that were kind of like always in the shadows watching you.
Yeah.
Like you'd occasionally see them, but for the most part, like you don't like directly interact with like any of them really until like those like final few like duties and dungeons,
Yeah.
and then they're kind of just like you finally get like this like climactic like thing, but then like it kind of just fizzles out really quickly with most of them,
Yeah.
and you get some really good dialogue with Gaius. Um, that like I don't like Gaius is probably still like the most compelling villain that 14's had from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Because because like you can 100% see where he's coming from. His in terms of like his ideals, like we're basically the same in a lot of ways. Like him and the Warrior of Light. It's just like
Yeah.
his exact methodology is a little concerning, but like that's what makes him a really good villain. Is like you're like 90% with what he's saying and
Yeah.
what he's doing even, and that makes him really fascinating and cool, and even like the shadowy like Asian characters that kind of show up from time to time like really interesting and curious and like there's something more going on here. And so I feel like Realm Reborn like for the most part like built up like a really cool world um like up to that point and like had all these like big questions and all this crazy stuff going on. Like the primals was really like I know people meme on like those primal quests because like it's a lot of like chasing like random pieces and bits and bobs to do
Like the
silly thing.
Titan one.
The Titan one's a little obnoxious, but like it was also I really liked it because like you met so many like interesting characters like through that process, like the old company of heroes, like some of those characters.
Yeah.
Like I thought, and like it was a little too video gamey, but like it was fun at the same time because like you're just like meeting all these like really cool, interesting people that you never ever talk to again ever. So It's again, I got really invested in a lot of characters during those quests that have never again been plot relevant. I do like Amric too. He's pretty cool. You're right, Lala. Um, so yeah, I mean, I mean, I really enjoyed the base ARR. The patch content for ARR was extremely hit or miss. To be completely honest,
Yeah, I agree there.
like there was some really interesting thing. Like it was. I mean, it's also like because like it was the first one like I experienced like patch content, so I wasn't really sure exactly how that like. I guess like I'd assume like patch content would be mostly like kind of side stuff, but then like maybe like some important things would end up being like it is like a lot of like important plot like directly correlates into what happens in the next expansion. Like it's actually which is still like a weird thing to me. Like the patch contents end up being like kind of like a mini expansion in and of themselves
Yeah,
in terms of like the amount of story they contain.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I agree. Like the patch content and ARR, um, well, I haven't experienced it lately, but back when I experienced it back in the day, it it felt very episodic up to a certain point.
Hmm.
Uh, when kind of like the Doma stuff started to take off.
That's
Uh,
right. That did start then during. Wait, did that start during error?
yes, it did.
No, yeah, because I guess because yeah, Revenant's toll, right? So
Yeah,
okay. Oh, I forgot that was like way back when. There's a lot of stuff that happened in error. Now I think about it.
yeah. But the episodic stuff that I'm talking about was kind of like the Good King Mogulmog, Leviathan, uh, those quests. You know.
Right, which like they were like fun, but they were definitely like very like standalone things.
Yeah,
Also, hello
Ramu.
Iglis. Yeah, Ramu. That's right. Ramu was a thing. Like it was all again like it was kind of like cool world building things like with like giving you like more new questions because like the rules were starting to change a little bit because like the ways that Leviathan is summoned and the ways that like Ramu's summoned and the way like Ramu behaves especially
Yeah,
is like different from like primals you've seen up to that point, and it's kind of
yeah,
it's starting to like turn things on their head of like it's like wait a minute, I thought these were the established rules of primals, but apparently there's something else going on now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so it's like episodic, but it's like still like building up that like it's like hold on, there's more in the world. So okay,
yeah.
and then
It, it's
yeah,
it's a lot of. I feel like the most of those patch quests are very world building for the most part.
which is fun. Like, and the I like seeing more of the world and seeing like more of the people in it.
Yeah,
Um, and maybe that's part of what starts as a like slowing it down for me a little bit later on is like there's like so much, and then there's also like so much that they seem to not be getting around to explaining, which I am promised answers are coming like during Shadowbringers and Endwalker, but and
yeah,
making people play for 120 hours of content before getting those hours or like those questions is like a little much.
yeah, yeah. I'll agree with you there. I'll agree with you there. A lot of. I feel like a lot of this story was fixed in Shadowbringers. That's why it's like very high regarded with everyone. It's just
Right.
because it's finally addressing things that because Stormblood in some ways kind of felt like a side mission. Um,
Right.
but it's nice that at least Shadowbringers starts to become better. But anyway,
But
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
yeah, it's all good. Um,
Um, but yeah, as for kind of like my opinions on patch content and ARR in general, is that um, I hardly remember it. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years since I've gone through A Realm Reborn, and I never did it a second time. So I can only attest to like how it was back in 2.1.
Which, from what I understand, it was even more egregious. 'Cause, like they've like trimmed like fully half the quests. It sounds like since then.
Yeah, and
Like,
back in the day, I actually had to skip the cutscenes in Meridiatum and Praetorium. I had to skip them.
yeah.
Yeah, because back in the day, you could skip cutscenes, and mostly people would be running Praetorium and Meridianum for tomes.
Right. So they're just
So,
zooming.
so they're zooming, and then it was unfortunate because people who wanted to watch the story would be playing, would be watching the video, the cutscene. Then in the middle of the cutscene, they would see this place has been sealed, and they would keep watching and watching and watching, and then they're done with their cutscene, and then and then it would just transition them into the next cutscene because the group is already so far ahead that um, it's like auto putting you into the next cutscene.
Right.
So basically, you could miss out on the entire dungeon because everyone's just zooming, and you'd be in the middle of cutscenes, and then you would hear you would then you would hear people leaving, and then the dungeon's over. You
Hmm.
basically didn't get to fight or anything like that. So um, I just skipped all my cutscenes and then watched them in the inn afterwards
Right.
when I did it the first time.
Well.
And I enjoyed a lot of the patch content back when it was released. I remember when the ending was released of the patch content, and uh like it was really cool at the time because everyone was just up in arms about it. There was so much discussion. It was a good time.
Hmm.
What was what was your opinion on the end of it?
um. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of know this already, but like, I'll just say, I need to get a glass of water. Mm, what's going on? Anyway, so yeah, because like the final cutscene is like an hour long nonstop stuff. Definitely had a lot of twists and turns. Um, some of the like, I'm trying to think how to talk about that being too spoilery. Because like there's basically like two, I guess there's like two major twists in during the final cutscene, right?
Yeah.
There's like the sudden apparent death of two major characters up to that point,
Yeah.
um, which is very sudden and out of nowhere. Um, and like I was I was and honestly still am kind of annoyed about that because I felt like there was a really interesting story that was like still developing, and then they kind of just ended it suddenly and veered to like a different uh character, kind of like
Yeah.
um
I see what you're coming from there because I kind of agree. I kind of agree.
like
Um, because that like whole like Ulda like event thing that happened, and I thought it would be really interesting to see where that thing went, but it makes sense why they went in the direction for the next expansion for Heaven's Ward because they had to lay it down, you know,
right.
of why they're going to this place, and
I mean, it
I don't know. I agree in some way. In some way.
right. It's one of those things like, yeah, in order for like Heavensward to work the way it did, like there had to be like a very sudden and urgent reason for you to be like only in Ishgard for a while.
Yeah.
Because up till then is like Ishgard is technically part of Eorzea, but like they're so far separated from like the rest of the alliance that like there's like zero reason to go there basically unless like you absolutely had to, like no other choice.
Yeah.
And so like it sort of makes sense for that, but it's also like I don't know, and maybe we can have like a more spoilery discussion at some other time with the proper warnings and whatever, but because there's so much about what goes down that I'm still mad of, and people know I'm still in denial of. I am waiting for the return of certain characters because I know they're out there. They're in
You
the
think so?
they're out they're out in the they're out like living in caves with with cybernetic parts, waiting for their chance to rise.
So, getting into Heaven's Ward, and I know a lot of people say, the award-winning expansion, Heaven's Ward.
Yeah.
Um, what is your kind of thoughts on it compared to like your A Realm Reborn experience?
Right. I mean, like as a standalone experience, Heavensward is probably the most Final Fantasy like part of Final Fantasy 14, if that makes sense. Like every beat of the story of Heavensward felt very much in line with like a lot of like old school Final Fantasy games,
Yeah,
which I was really into. Like as a standalone time, like Heavensward is really fun. Like there's a lot of cool things that happen. There's many tropes, but that's again that's Final Fantasy. Um, but
I kind of like the whole journey thing. That was kind of
yeah,
journey experience.
because it was is like I mean it's the closest the game has ever done to like where like you're like on like like you're on an adventure with a party, which is
Yeah,
what every Final Fantasy is. At some point, you have to like go on an adventure with like a group of like ragtag people who like barely like each other, but
yeah,
like have like this common need to go do something. And that
yeah.
was kind of like the majority of Heavensward was like that. It was really cool for that. Like I liked it a lot for that. Um, I I wish the villain could have been better because like as far as tropes go, I don't think there's anything more tropey than what the surprise villain ended up being.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I've definitely hated on that plenty of times already, but like I'm just so sick to death of that,
yeah.
and so
Understandable.
and especially the fact that like they tried to play it off as if it was going to be like a twist that nobody saw coming, when absolutely like everybody saw it coming. Like um
Wait, are we talking about
like
it
the
on
final boss you fight, like like that guy.
the dragon?
No, no, huh? I mean, like the dragon was like the obvious one, but then like the other guy, the twist, who wanted to become a god.
Oh, oh yeah, that's right.
Well,
Yeah.
Lala, don't spoil things. That's the whole reason I'm not saying names.
No, okay. Let's give like a spoiler warning right now. Okay,
Sure, we're
major spoiler warning to anyone up until well, we won't talk about any spoilers with Shadowbringers. It will
well,
just be
I hope we don't. Um,
yeah, nothing that Grayson has not played yet. Okay,
right. And I think the
so
majority of people hanging out right now have probably are farther than I am, except
so
maybe for Benji. I don't know.
yeah, I don't think that Benji has not played.
Benji's a nerd.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's a nerd that plays Punishing Great Raven.
Gasp.
Um, and he's a fucking whale. He's a whale. He's a
My
whale.
TOS, no. I can't believe
Anyway, okay.
it's fine. But
I thought you were talking. Okay, spoiler warning now, but I
sure.
thought you were talking about. See, for me, Heaven's Ward ended like the true ending was the Nidhogg, and I thought the whole Nidhogg thing was what you were talking about.
No, well, I mean, Nidhogg was fine. That was a like I thought Nidhogg was actually Nidhogg's probably like my second favorite like villain of the series so far um because he's kind of fascinating that like because Nidhogg was like less of a character and more of like a force. It was just like this storm of doom more than he was like this like an individual, if that makes sense. Because like he was so
Yeah,
far beyond reasoning, like he basically wasn't like a rational being anymore.
yeah,
And so I thought that was like a really cool way to play like that super extreme level of like vengeance that he had.
yeah,
So I thought that made for like a really good villain, honestly, because
yeah,
like there was no like cause like there was no other way to deal with Nidhogg than for like just massive fight.
yeah,
But um, but no, I had a major problem with this. I mean, and I guess it depends like how you because like maybe he's a secondary villain, maybe he's the twist villain, like however you want to play it. But the Pope basically like the fact is like, oh man, the church was evil in the Japanese story. What? Who would have seen that coming?
though, to be fair, I think it was just evil because of him. Because like after that, it kind of like turned over a new leaf. Yeah,
I mean, it really like. I mean, I guess that's the problem I have is like they went like really in depth with like all of the bad parts of that church, but they never really show any prominent characters that are like really trying their best on behalf of that church, like if that makes sense.
yeah,
Like people always want to argue like, well, Amaric is I mean like Amaric's like a lay member of the church. Like I mean he was born in it, like but he's not like I don't know, he's not doing sermons or whatever like they however that church would work, which they never really go super in depth anyway. But
yeah,
literally like every person like every character you encounter in the game that is like part of like their priesthood, I guess, like is villainous.
yeah,
And it's like I don't think there's a singular religion that's ever been 100% evil. Like I think there can definitely be some less savory aspects, but like
yeah.
it's such an I don't know, it's like
It's a
every
trope. It's a common trope.
it's yeah, it's frustrating. It just feels lazy. It's a very lazy thing to do.
Yeah. Though it did get better because Thor didn't got kicked out.
Right. And I wish we could see more of how that played out. But
Didn't
like
didn't you play this Scholastic quest line?
what word did you just use?
There's a quest line um in Heaven's Ward in the Pillars that's kind of like a follow up to Heaven's Ward.
Hatun says no, so I probably did like if I mean if it wasn't MSQ then I haven't touched it.
Yeah, it wasn't MSQ.
Yeah, which I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if it's not MSQ, it's practically non-canon.
Okay. Oh,
Like,
well, there's a quest in Heaven's Ward if you want to go back and do it that kind of makes you learn more about the church and
Nid the Hedgehog.
stuff that happened after Thornton.
Hmm.
how kind of like the higher end society have dealt with things after boredom. So I would maybe go back sometime and do that.
Right.
Maybe if Hatun can or and Lala can point you in the direction of it. It's a decent quest line.
Right. I mean, I would love to do more of the side quests. Like it this might surprise people. It kills me that I'm skipping the side quests because I'm not a person that skips content. But like, there's
Yeah.
already so much MSQ that like I feel pressured to be continuing. It's like honestly like if I was playing the game entirely my way, I would not leave a city until I'd done every side quest first. But
Understandable.
like for streaming, that's not really a viable option because most people aren't going to care that much about the side quests.
Yeah.
But like I bet there's like a lot of good lore in those that would make me a lot less angry about the game.
So
But anyway,
Heaven's Word, all in all, like moving on to the patch quests. Um I think it wrapped the story up really well with the whole Nidhogg thing and
right.
how they were kind of like trying to bridge that gap and kind of like make peace. And
Mm,
I like that whole uh storyline.
right. Yeah, I think the patch content. I'm trying to actually remember what all happens in it. Like,
It's
is that like
you
the
make
extra stuff with Estinian, or am I thinking of?
no, you're mostly with Amaric and you're going around to the dragons and saying, "Hey, let's do peace."
Oh, okay,
And
that's right.
um try to convince a lot of dragons. You convince Horace Vilgar, and then suddenly uh Nidhogg stops everything and then you have to defeat him.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, the patch content was pretty decent then, from what I remember. Like, I actually remember that stuff like the least. So I still remember like the ARR stuff pretty well, but
See, I remember that part. I don't remember Heaven's Ward at all. I
right.
remember bits and pieces, but oh, going back a tiny bit, I want to know your opinion on the whole Horshavan thing.
Oh, sure.
Like, what did you think about him?
I mean, I feel like they're like most deaths in 14. I feel like we don't get quite enough time with the
Yeah,
character to give it like the full emotional punch. Like, 'cause, I mean, and Harshafant was a really good character. Like he's super likable. He's somebody who's like sincerely trying to do their best and is like trying to be honorable and like a good person. And so like he's very likable for sure. But like we don't really get like any emotional moments with him like outside of like his final scene. Um and so like that's actually because I think I was actually talking to somebody else about this. Like all the emotional scenes with Harshafant kind of come after he's gone because you have those like the sequences like with Edmont, his father,
yeah,
and
yeah.
those are really powerful. But like I don't know like because like I mean it was definitely like it was sad, but it wasn't like I don't feel like I had enough time to be like. Cause like, especially because like there's so much of the game where he's not there anyway.
Yeah.
That like I don't know like I think it could have been done better, but or I guess maybe just I don't know. Maybe the other thing is like maybe they don't need to kill somebody every time they feel like there's not enough like emotional investment. Like it seems to be kind of like something they fall back on a lot. Is like it's like yeah somebody hasn't died in a while. I guess we'll kill somebody, but
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree there. Um I guess with Horsefon, it was mostly if you like really connected it with him with the side content back in A Realm Reborn, and um, I don't know. I yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with you about Horsefon.
Right.
I feel like a lot of the emotional punch from that scene is very overblown in the community. They think about it as like a extremely sad bit, but I honestly agree with you with it. Like if Horsefont was maybe like more in like the group that you're traveling with, and if he was there, I think it would have hit a lot different.
Right.
But since he wasn't and was kind of doing like his own thing for the most part, um, I think the lack of emotional punch was from that.
Right. It's just like, I mean, like it's definitely like a bummer because like he is like a likable character,
Oh yeah,
but he's
definitely.
he's also like it's like he's so quickly like all of like the things he was doing are so quickly replaced by like Amric essentially. That like
Yeah,
there isn't even like really a moment like where like you feel like that void of like it's like oh man Harshavant would be like it's like oh we sure could use his help. It's like well actually everyone's like doing perfectly fine without him. Um
yeah, yeah.
like
I think Emmerich was kind of like the biggest. I agree with you. He's kind of like the biggest nail in the coffin to Horsefont because it feels like most of the expansion was about him, and uh, especially the patch content felt like it was a lot for him. And yeah, Emmerich could do everything because yeah, he is in charge and stuff like that. You know.
right. I mean Amric's a great like that's the thing is like there's a lot like he's a great character like it's not like a slight on him. It's just
Yeah.
that yeah. And AC's mentioning he needs more punch like Ezael had. Ezael
Um, See, I didn't feel anything for the horse font death, and I didn't feel too much for the Ysael death either.
like I'm still
Because
like ugh.
the Ysael deaths didn't really. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. What do you think?
I mean
Maybe you'll say the same opinion as me.
I mean
I
Aegis
need to
kind of make
collect myself.
I think Aegis makes a really solid point like how Ezael wasn't even mourned. Um but like so with Ezael like because we actually like do get like she's because she's part of the traveling party like we get to spend like a lot more time with her sort of directly compared to even Harshafant.
Yeah,
And she has like a really like interesting like personal story happening because she kind of starts as like this kind of like this like I mean because like they consider her heretical but like she's kind of like just self-developed like this whole other like belief of the world that's like kind of like this own little like delusion she's living in.
yeah, like how
And
she thinks she's the embodiment of Shiva or the reincarnation of Shiva, I
right
guess.
and like that whole thing is like really interesting the fact that like she's able to become a primal and not a primal of will that's like that's the first time we see that that's another like talking about like the rules of primals being turned on their head that's a twist. um
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of like really interesting things about her. But then I feel like they kind of ruin because like and even like her death could have had like a lot of power to it in the way it was carried out but like we miss like the final steps of her story like because we're with her up
Yeah.
until we're with her up until she talks with Trace Felger and then we don't see her again until she sacrifices herself. And I feel like
Yeah.
that in between segment is the part I would have wanted to see the most,
Yeah.
because that's clearly like when all the it all comes crashing down. It's all like, and like we don't really like we can kind of infer based on what she does, but like we really don't know like how it changed her, like what she became from that point,
Yeah, I agree.
which is
I agree.
really a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. Yeah, and I agree with Eagles as well. Like, even after the scene of her sacrificing herself, there was nothing really after that. And it was unfortunate.
Yeah, it's one of those things like it makes sense within the context of the world in the sense of like as far as like Ishgard was concerned, she was like a dangerous heretic basically.
Yeah.
And the fact that like she killed herself to save some people didn't really change that opinion for the vast majority, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like compared to like how much time is spent on Harshaphant's death in the aftermath, and like there's really like zero time, and like and we'd have never talked about Ezel again. Like Harshaphant's come up in passing every now and then, but like Ezel has been like the banished word.
Well, to be fair, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. To be fair, right after Ysael sacrificed herself, we were on Azislaw, and we were in the middle of this like let's stop Thornton thing. So it kind of made sense that they kind of pushed her death to well her disappearance or death to the side because the Warrior of Light did they know that a Ysael like died there or
I mean,
I thought I remembered it as the classic anime trope that's I'll take care of these guys, you guys go on ahead type
right.
thing, type
I mean,
scene. Wasn't it kind of like that?
well, that's what she says, and they do flee, and like they see her go crashing down. Like it seems like it's like it's inferred that maybe she died, but also I live by like the ideal of like there's no such thing as an off camera death.
Yeah,
And but it's weird because I guess she did die because you know she comes back as a bit more ghosty the next time you see her. Um,
true.
just like, but it is it that part that whole segment was kind of weird with her story.
Well, anyway, we get to the end of that, and we have the final steps of faith, which really cool boss fight. Uh, and really good scenes afterwards. I felt
Right.
like it was a really good wrap up to the whole thing, whole Ishgard story.
No, yeah, I mean, and overall, like, yeah, Heaven's Word I think is really a really good clean package.
Though
Hmm.
there are some bad parts.
Gasp. How would you dare insinuate that?
And I think you would agree with me
Hmm.
in saying that the worst parts of Heaven's Word was the wrap up of the whole Ulda thing.
It was awkward. Um, it it was definitely like it didn't jive, especially with considering the whole premise of going to Ishkar was that we were banished forever, like especially from Ulda,
Yeah.
and so it was definitely it was weird. Um, when suddenly we
Yeah.
were just going back to over there, like it was not a problem at all.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And the whole thing with kind of like the fake out death and stuff like that. I just felt like it was a tangent that I was just like not interested in it anymore after doing the whole Ishgard thing. And then they're suddenly like, "Oh, we're bringing you back to Ul'dah for a second." and finishing up this quest line really quick because we need to finish this plot thread.
Right. And it was one of those things where like I don't know why they felt like they had to resolve that during Heavensward. Like that would have fit so much better as like an opener for Stormblood even.
Yeah, I agree.
Like like that was definitely very very odd. Um so yeah, that was especially
You're
cuz
you're
like
lu-
yeah.
you're mostly lucky that you never really got to experience Heaven's Ward on release.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so good.
it's in my opinion. Well, this is kind of like shifting a little bit to gameplay,
Hmm.
but I kind of want to mention it, like here in passing a bit. I think, in my opinion, out of all the expansions, Heaven's Ward is the worst expansion
Gasp.
in Final Fantasy. And that's not because of the story; it's because of the gameplay.
Hmm.
And back then, the game was really, really bad in Heaven's Ward. This is
Oh
kind of
yeah.
just like a side little note for you. Um, Kind of interesting little tidbit. But back then, the Alexander raids, they nearly broke the game. Like, they nearly broke the player base.
Yeah.
The first tier of the Alexander raids was so difficult that it made a lot of people quit the game. Like a lot of people. And
Snap.
it also changed the landscape of what raiding is like in Final Fantasy.
Hmm.
Because like back in A Realm Reborn, like healers, they weren't really expected to DPS all the time.
Right.
But once Heaven's Ward started, um, it was now required as a skill you must learn
Hmm.
because so many groups were stuck not even on the first boss, but like the the striking dummy before the first boss
Yipes.
because their DPS was not good enough. And a lot of the jobs difficulties skyrocketed in Heaven's Ward and they got a lot more complicated.
Hmm.
So that coupled with the rating experience, coupled with the failures of the diadem and a lot of other pieces of content, it was it was a rough time. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
There was a lot of uncertainty of whether or not that Final Fantasy could keep it up if they kept it up in this direction, because um, the first two tiers of Alexander was so difficult. Like the first tier was difficult in a way that like the final boss had to be cheesed in order to like win. And then in Midas, the second tier, a lot of a lot of people now, if you were to talk to a vet, they would say that Midas was the greatest tier. And I kind of agree with them, even though I didn't rate it.
Hmm.
Um, it was the most memorable final boss fight in the game and the most intense final boss fight in the game.
Hmm.
And that's the brute justice one.
Okay, sure.
I think you remember that fight.
I think so.
Yeah. It was very, very different in the Savage version. But anyway, I digress. It was that I could go on and on about the problems of Stormblood. And not Stormblood, of Heaven's Word. Because a lot of people like to sweep it under the rug. And
Sure.
because they're like, oh, Heaven's Word had the greatest story. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it did. It did. It has one of the best stories. It's really good. But a lot of people overlook what happened to the community and what happened to the gameplay during that time.
Hmm.
Because like uh Bard and Machinist, they were like caster jobs. Like think of using a bow and then having a cast bar.
Neat.
Or having the gun and having the cast bar. I don't know if you've tried Machinist yet or Bard, but
Not yet.
yeah, they used to have cast bars.
Hmm.
And there were so many jobs that were unplayable. And if you were playing a certain job, then you would get kicked from parties.
Yeah.
It was
Nice.
that bad. It was that bad.
Yipes.
Because everyone was about like getting the exact point of DPS because the content was just so hard.
Yikes.
So yeah, it was a rough time. It was a rough time. But anyway, we could transition slightly into Stormblood,
Sure thing. Everyone's favorite.
which I also want to make a little note about my. Is there anyone here that started in Stormblood or like was there at launch?
Probably a handful of
Because
folks.
have you ever heard of the launch experience of Stormblood?
I heard that uh like people giving out like MSQ quests were like mobbed. It was like impossible to it was like super crowded or something.
Yes. So back when Stormblood was released, I remember I was there. It was we were super hyped, logged in, got in, started doing quests, and then yeah, Hadun gets it. There was this NPC, Robon NPC. You would talk to him, and it would initiate a instance quest thing.
Hmm.
You know those instant things.
Right.
And when you would go into it, you would watch the cutscene, and then at the end of the cutscene, it would kick you out
Hmm.
because the way how they designed their servers or something was that only a certain amount of people could access that um, quest, that instanced event at a time. So that became a bottleneck for hundreds and thousands of people because no one could get past that because it would just slowly trickle people in like a couple at a time.
Yipes.
So for the entire section of early access, there no one could get past this quest. And it was a quest right at the very beginning of the game. You couldn't unlock zones at all. The only two zones that you had was the fringes and the peaks. And you could only go to half of them because the whole thing wasn't unlocked.
Right, yeah.
So everyone was so pissed that this was going on. I remember I was reading forum after forum post of and just Reddit posts of people just camping out, spamming for hours upon hours and hours trying to get into this quest. And it was tough. And I was there. I was literally there
Yeah.
spamming with everyone else. My friend was like leveling samurai while I was like, I don't care about samurai. I'm just gonna try to get through this. And I ended up getting through during early access. I was one of the lucky people that got through.
Wow.
And then there was a second bottleneck after that, which was a different NPC, but it wasn't as bad.
Probably because
It was
most people
most
were still stuck at the first one.
yeah. It wasn't like a bottleneck in the traditional sense like the other one. It was more like it broke the game.
Ah,
It was a like it would just crash the game.
neat.
So, but once you got through that, I was able to get through it, and I remember I was in the Ruby Sea, and no, I think I was in Awesome Step when the thing was finally lifted, and then people started to go through. So I kind of like finished the MSQ before the majority of the player base.
Hmm.
So I got lucky in that regard. I still remember that day
Yeah.
because I remember uh, pressing skip cutscene and then waiting and then waiting. You're watching this black screen and then the loading screen at the bottom, and then it suddenly appears duty commenced, and then you're like,
It's like, I'm not ready. Wait, I was drinking my
I'm
soda.
not ready. Yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then you're praying you don't lose, because
Yeah.
if you lose, you have to go back.
And wait.
Because I remember I heard someone like a forum post of someone that got in and then died, and then had to get kicked back out and then had to go again.
Oof.
That was rough. Anyway, that's my little note there.
Did you go
So
on every forum and spam spoilers since you knew things other people didn't?
no, I
Ah,
didn't.
that's no fun.
I had one guy message me because he was pissed that I got through.
Yeah.
It was a random guy because for some reason there were these people that thought that lining up in a line would help.
Sure.
Like it's like a line in real life. So of course it would work, right? No, no, it doesn't work. So I like stood away from the line of people and then just started spamming. And then this one guy messages me and is like, "Oh, why aren't you standing in line with the rest of us? You're part of the problem." And I'm like, dude, standing in this line is not going to fix this because the servers, it's like an entire data center. Like
Yeah.
it's you personally lining up is not going to make a difference here. He's like, "Oh, well, how do you know?" And I'm like, dude, it just makes sense. And then the same person, when I got through, the same person messaged me is like, "I can't believe you got in." And I'm like, well, whatever, dude.
Oof.
Anyway, the story of Stormblood, I think, is very divisive amongst the community. There's
Right.
some that enjoy it, there's some that don't. And I kind of want to know what your opinion of it is.
Right. I mean, if I got to be 100% honest, I probably trend towards not enjoying it. Um,
Okay.
at least like overall, like because I definitely like compared to the first two expansions, like I had way more grievances throughout Stormblood, which
What
I did
what were
talk
some
about.
of your major grievances?
Jeez, where to start? The every villain, every villain in Stormblood bad. Didn't care for a one of them in terms of like their motivations or like how their story progresses. Um, just not very interesting across the board to me. Um,
To you and
yeah, Yotsu, Xenos, Fordola, like all the others, like just not, just wasn't compelled by any of them. Got progressively more annoyed every time they were on screen,
yeah.
and then it doesn't help that there's also like quite a few of like the protagonist characters I also like couldn't stand for the most part. Like, well, maybe not couldn't stand, but like they just like weren't. interesting to me. Um,
The least, right?
um, Lise, like, Lise just got was this very bland. Like, I can't even say like I didn't like her. She's like she lost all interest. Like, which was so sad because Yida was like one of my favorite characters in ARR. Like Yida and
Yeah.
Papalima were like my favorites of ARR. They were super funny. They were great together. It was like my favorite dynamic in the whole game. And so for Stormblood to basically rewrite it as like Lise, like it was just very disappointing because I feel like she lost so much of her personality and didn't
Yeah.
really gain anything for it. Um,
Understandable. I personally didn't like whenever we had to leave, whenever we had to go back to uh Ilsabard, I think. Isn't it called Ilsabard? What is it called? Uh
uh,
Whenever we had to go back to Eorzea and deal with Alamigo, the stuff that I didn't like.
oh sure. I mean, I didn't hate Alamigo itself. Like the
Erebania, yeah, that's what it's called.
Agirabania, sure.
Yeah.
Like the landscapes for, I feel like they could have been more creative. Those are definitely like not very fun. Um,
Yeah.
the story was interesting, like because like I feel like Alamigo has a really interesting setup in terms of like, or at least like a potential setup because like it's people that have been under like Garlean control for decades at this point.
Yeah.
And so like there's this really interesting, and they do kind of play with it a little bit, like the divide of like kind of like the older generations who knew what it was like before and the younger generations who have no idea.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That
And
part was nice.
I think that was really interesting, like when they were playing with that. Um,
I
I
think
think
it the reason why I think of it that way is because of once we like went to the Far East, it felt like we just like abandoned that part of the storyline.
they felt super separate. Like it felt like two different expansions.
Yeah, very true.
Like even though like they were loosely connected, like it felt very contrived when they were like, it's like Alamigo needs help. Let's go to the other side of the planet. Like, well, is that really the best option? Is that really
Yeah.
truly the logical conclusion here? But
So overall, you're kind of mixed on the whole thing, I'm guessing.
yeah, because I mean,
Include
like, yeah.
including patch quests, including patch quests.
Oh, patch quests, f those. I mean, actually, let me think about this because I think I've kind of blocked. I'm trying to remember like what happens. Like I remember what happens in the most recent patch stuff because that's what I just barely did. I'm trying to remember like
Uh,
what like 4.1 and 4.2 were. I think it was mostly just like no, that was with the uh freaking the guy that has like the bowl haircut and the wild eyes.
Asahi, yeah,
Yeah. That's
crazy
right.
guy.
That's why I blocked it out because it's him and Tsuyu, which I don't know if I could have. And again, Asahi is just not a great villain. Like he could have been he could have been more interesting. I think they squandered him.
Yeah,
Um, the whole Tsuyu subplot was so dumb.
the amnesia stuff.
The amnesia stuff was dumb. Like I mean, and again, like it was something like it could have been really interesting, but they just like went about it in like I don't know, like the least interesting way. Because I think if she had stayed as Yotsu, but then like it had all been like exactly this, like it kind of played out the same of like her surviving with what's his name. Like I think there would have been a more potential punch to it in terms of like how her character could potentially change, like for the better or
Yeah,
worse. The fact that they kind of just like I mean, it was basically they just like introduced like a new character, like
Yeah, she
they,
kind of like turned into a new character.
and so like it loses any kind of like emotional value, and like, well, like this isn't Yotsu anymore. This is just a different person with the same model. Like Gozetsu, thank you, Elis. But
Yeah.
it's like I couldn't like it was trying to like propose like some interesting philosophical questions. And normally I would be down to debate that kind of stuff, but like I just couldn't do it with Yotsu. Like which I is also part of the point, I guess, because like she was so awful. But like I don't, they're just like I don't know, just hated it. I guess I really didn't care for it.
But what about your thoughts on Big Daddy Xenos?
Poof.
I
I
know you
mean,
said you didn't like him, but I'm assuming that you watched that you've finished
I've seen all the way to the second credit sequence.
the second credit
So
sequence.
like I
So
finished all
that's
of the patch content completely.
okay. So all the patch content, your next quest is starting Shadowbringers, right?
Yeah, it will initiate Shadowbringers.
Okay. So I'm guessing you've seen the scenes of him there, right?
Yeah, so like I've seen the post patch Xenos character.
Yes.
Um yeah, I don't know.
Because Xenos is one of my favorite characters.
See, and everybody or not everybody, but like a lot of people seem to like him, and I don't get it, I guess. 'Cause like
Well, in Shadowbringers, he's mostly just there and he's just bored out of his mind because there's nothing that can challenge him at all.
you mean Stormblood?
So, yeah, in Stormblood. In Stormblood. Sorry.
Right.
Stormblood. There's no one that can challenge him in Stormblood, so he's just there he's like doesn't care about anything. But then when suddenly he gets defeated by the Warrior of Light and um finds that itch, then he just wants to scratch that itch, you know?
Right.
He's like, I don't care about anything except I at least how I interpreted that scene right at the end of the patch quest was that he doesn't care about anything except getting a second fight.
Right. I mean, I don't know, like if this was like I don't know, shonen anime or a Saturday morning cartoon, he'd be a great villain because that really is like his central motivation is he just wants to fight, which is fine if he wasn't like the primary antagonist. Like if he was like a secondary threat for Stormblood, that would have been fine, I think. But
He's like it kind of reminds me of the first season of Dragon Ball Z, you know,
yeah,
Vegeta.
sure.
In some ways, in some ways.
In some ways, like he reminds me a lot of like I mean, I guess my comparison would be like the Toguro brothers from Yu Yu Hakusho. Where
Okay,
like
yeah,
because like
yeah.
they were super strong. They joined the Dark Arc tournament, whatever, because they just want to be able to fight, and because like they're so powerful and stuff, and they're looking for that challenge. That's basically what Xenos is. I guess the
Oh, yeah,
difference
yeah,
being
yeah.
that like at least up to this point we get so little background on Xenos that like and I'm guessing Shadowbringers will get more into like his whole thing. But
No,
well, that's
but continue.
well, I mean, because that's the problem then, because with the Toguro brothers, like they have like a whole like there's a whole character arc that like explains like how they got to where they are. But
Yeah,
with Xenos,
you'll see in the end. You'll
like
see in the
Xenos
end.
just wants to just wants to stab and punch, and it's like, well,
Yeah, he wants to stab and punch you.
yeah, and it's like,
He doesn't care about anything else. He just wants to stab and punch you on a fairground.
yeah, and it's like that's fine. Like,
Because
if he was like a
I think that's what makes what is he's so simple minded. He's like that simple minded giant. Like I smash things. He's like that troll
right,
from like fictional characters.
which is fine for a minor villain. Like, if he was
And
like Buggy the Clown or something, then it's like, sure, yeah,
I really like that scene where he was just uh like, are you seriously going to him talking to his dad, Varys or whatever, and he's like, well, are you seriously going to use these underhanded tactics to the kill these people, get this the warrior of light? I'm not going to let you do that because I want to fight him. Because he's so self-centered and is just like only one track mind that like even like these evil villains that want to like kill everyone just like ought to step back and then are just in shock by why he's doing the things that he's doing. I like that.
right.
That whole scene is one of my favorite scenes in the entirety of the game.
I don't know that
Just
I've
because
seen that scene yet.
no, you've seen that scene.
I don't
It's the
remember that
last scene.
I don't remember that dialogue. The way I
Well,
remember going is like because like the final cutscene is like they're both in the hall, and Xenos comes up to him asking him like, he's like, hey, where's your grandsire? I need to talk to him. And he's like, I don't know where he is. And then he's like,
no,
humph, and he leaves.
that's not a Shadowbringer scene. I swear it's not.
I mean, maybe somebody can confirm. Like, if I was just not paying attention, I don't remember that dialogue happening.
Oh,
Because like the final scene ends with like he's talking to a scientist about Black Rose being ready to produce, and then it freeze frames on a super evil, goofy looking emperor face.
did it?
I think so.
You are you sure you finished all the Passion quests?
Yeah. I mean, I had the cutscene. I had the credits, and that was the cutscene after the credits.
Dude, I don't even know right now. Because I swear that
I think Eagles is spoiling stuff for me, so thank you. Um, good stuff.
oh no, that was a given from the scenes though. You can
Well,
infer it.
I mean that could have been like now that he said that, that makes sense. I was assuming that was Solus, so I've been corrected and spoiled, but that's okay.
I may be getting my timelines crossed because I don't remember.
Yeah, because the way I remember the cutscenes going out is that Xenos is an Ascian, and from what I saw, Solus was disguised as an Elysian soldier running around the battlefield. If that's supposed to be Xenos, that was not clear to me. I was assuming it was Solus.
Okay. And you and so you've seen like all of the I'm just trying to like remind myself of what happens. So the all the scions disappear. Well, not disappear, they go unconscious, right?
Uh, sure, all the ones that have voice actors,
Yeah.
except for Cryle,
And then you got contacted by that dude.
by Blue Hand.
Yeah, but whatever he is. Whatever he is.
Sure.
And then that's the end, right?
I mean, up to that point, but then there's more cutscenes after that one, but yeah.
And then the final cutscene, the final one, was that one was Xenos, right?
Yeah.
Or what? That guy.
Right.
quote unquote. Okay, then maybe I was getting my timelines messed up. Maybe I did spoil there. I apologize,
I'm not sure.
but it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter.
It's fine. I think a lot of people have been accidentally spoiling things for Shadowbringer because it seems like everybody. It seems like everybody did not pause after patch content; just went straight to Shadowbringers. Because the roommate has also started saying stuff that I think I wasn't supposed to hear yet, but he thought it was part of the patch content.
Yeah, I think you'll forget anyway because it will take you a year to finish Shadowbringers. So
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely tell that everybody likes Shadowbringers because this is like this is the first time
well,
like I've been playing the game for 2 years and nobody's ever spoiled stuff on accident until now. People have done it like
until now.
several times in the last
Yeah,
like week.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Because I was getting my wires crossed because I thought that scene that I was just talking to you about was that last scene, and I forgot because it's just the timeline is very weird. The timeline is very weird.
Right. It's all good.
Anyway, yeah, you'll forget. You'll forget. Hopefully.
Maybe.
I think in a scene. No, I never really got spoiled in this game. I think I might have done.
I mean, I've been pretty lucky. Like, I don't think I've, to my knowledge, I have not had any major spoilers. With one exception. I think, I think like right before, like, I think like literally like 5 minutes before Harshafont dies, somebody came in the chat and was like, "Oh, hey, this is the dungeon where Harshafont dies." And I was like, "Oh, well, I guess I know what happens at the end of this dungeon now." Like,
Oh,
that happened, but
okay. Okay, there's only one thing I'll spoil for you, okay? The final boss is Tataru.
yeah, I hope so. That's what I predicted at the end of ARR. So,
She is the complete villain of the entire series.
I mean, she is the villain currently.
She
She,
created
she has all the money.
Eidolon, Zodiark. She created the primals.
I mean, she actually and literally stole a cave full of treasure from me, so I'm still bitter about that.
Yeah,
She claimed it for herself after I did all the hard work.
yeah. Evil being.
Yeah. I mean, every Lalafel's been evil in the game. It's just how it works. Name one good Lalafell you can't.
Oh yeah, dude. I think it's Teleji, and then you find out it's Tataru was the big bad all along. Yes,
No,
exactly.
Teleji's out there waiting for his chance to strike again. The Adeleji will rise.
But anyway, so going back to the Stormblood stuff, what did you think of the content that you fight in?
It was. It's becoming problematic. Like gameplay wise, it's becoming problematic. It's
How so?
it's exceeded the level of difficulty that I would want for a game I want like I would play at this point. Like the fights are becoming more involved than I would really care to learn. To be honest,
I'm guessing you're talking about Shinryu, right?
I don't even know who that is.
The big giant dragon that you fight at the end of Stormblood. That's
Uh,
cute.
I mean that one might have been fine. I don't recall struggling with that one.
Which one did
Um,
you struggle with?
well, like it's not necessarily that I'm struggling with them, but it's just like they're adding like a lot of like weird mechanics. Like there was that I can't remember like what fight it was, but like there was that one fight that was like a Dance Revolution thing, which
Oh yeah. The Suzaku,
sure, like
the bird, the firebird.
yeah, Suzaku, that's what it was. Like it's one of like it's reaching a point where like the gameplay is becoming exceedingly video gamey in terms of like I want the lore reason for why dancing in a certain directions is helping me like avoid death. And I don't think there are. I think it's just the developers running out of ideas to make like things.
Um. Well, that's a side quest. It's magic. Yeah. It's
Yeah, but it's like I mean, and just in general, like they're just there's like just too many mechanics. Like there's too many buttons that I have to learn. There's too many things happening in boss fights.
I thought you
Like
were gonna mention the Tsukuyomi fight because that one has a unique mechanic in it.
I mean, I refuse to acknowledge that because I just hate Suyu so much. Um, but but no, yeah, it's just the
Okay.
game is officially just becoming too advanced for me. Like
Okay.
so I don't know what I'm gonna do in Shadowbringers and Endwalker because like dungeons kind of stopped being like I've kind of stopped looking forward to dungeons because now it's just like mini anxiety because like oh no what's going to be in this dungeon that I have to deal with. It's like I used to be excited for like new stuff and now I get like a little knot in my stomach.
Yeah, but isn't it super easy with like Hatun and Lala carrying
I
you?
mean, and I should make this clear. I'm very very grateful that people like there's like people I know that I get to play with
Yeah.
because I probably would have quit the game if I had to play with randoms
Yeah.
because
I bet
I
you
would have
would.
been too self conscious.
Yeah.
Like that's like honestly what it comes down to. Like if I had to play this MMO as it's intended, like I probably would have given up because it would have stressed me out too much.
Yeah, that's why I say like since you have people in the stream, it's really nice. But if you didn't, you could still do trusts. A lot of people don't know too much about that, but
Right.
that's a nice way to play.
Right. But and like it is like there's something really sad about the fact like because it's like the whole point of an MMO is you get to play with like other players and
True.
if the game has had to like add functions to like play less with other players that feels like that speaks to like some sort of a fundamental issue
Well,
like what you were talking about like with like the necessity of like speed running things
yeah.
like if that's reached a point where like like speed run or get kicked like I feel like there's something wrong there I don't know.
Well, I think about it like this is that Final Fantasy 9 the 95% of them are single player games
Right.
and they want to make it more in line with that. And of course, there's the parts where you have to go with people like the trials. Most of the trials you have to go with people.
Right.
And um the dungeons um I think they're better the first time with the trusts because it feels lore accurate.
Hmm.
That's why I like it.
Right.
Because you're there going in the dungeon with um X character and it feels more lore accurate. That's my thing. And yeah, it helps you learn mechanics easier.
Hmm.
That's the reason I do them.
Does make sense.
And the characters do make little comments as you're doing the try this the dungeons too,
Hmm. Hmm, hmm.
which is nice. So there's little interactions there, or like a character would say something about this boss or something like that, or
Right.
it feels yeah, it feels like you're the characters are not just like sides that are just like thrown away.
Right. Right. Hmm.
Because like you've probably recognized this. Like after a dungeon, like you start the dungeon, everyone's talking about going into this dungeon, and then you finish the dungeon, and then um like the scions are there and they say, "Oh, that was tough," or something like
Right.
that.
They've got like some little commentary on what just happened.
Yeah, and it's like it's a disconnect for me that if I run it with other players first. You kind of get what I
Right.
mean?
No, I mean that definitely makes a lot of sense for sure.
And I do agree that it kind of like lessens the MMO element. Um, but I see the MMO element in the end game,
Hmm.
uh, in all the end game activities. And the MSQ is the personal story, the main story quest for you.
Hmm.
So it's always going to be the same for you. And whether or not you run it with other people, it's still a single player experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm, hmm.
That's kind of like my thoughts on it.
No, I mean that definitely makes a lot of sense for sure.
That's why I'm a big proponent of the duty support, the trusts, because it's a very relaxing experience. That you don't have to be you can play whatever class you'd like and it's going to be easy.
Right.
And you'll the sure the the trash and the bosses might take a little bit longer than usual, but you get to learn a lot more, I think.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Gasp.
So you might,
Benji's
might
still
so you
here.
might so you might want to think about it. You might want to think about
Right.
it for maybe trying it once and then see how you feel.
Right. Only for MSQ dungeons. Side dungeons are part of that, so you get. I see. So only MSQ dungeons. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Trying to make it accessible for people.
Yeah. That's their whole plan is just to make the MSQ solo friendly for people that just want to experience the story. And it makes sense.
Hmm.
It's a Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy stories are what drive people to play those games. So, you know,
Right. Right. Hmm.
anywho, I feel like you going into Shadowbringers, I think gauging on your experience so far, I think in some ways you'll like it, in some ways you won't. I think you'll kind of end up feeling the same way you did on on Stormblood.
Hmm.
That is my opinion.
Right. I mean, I've been talking to some people, and I'm getting a kind of a feel, at least generally, how Shadowbringers may go for sure. I mean, I definitely want to play through because like at this point, like I'm really invested in the story. Like I want to see where everything goes,
Can you
and
before we end here and this whole thing, I want to hear your predictions
my predictions.
or kind of like how you feel the rest of the game is going to play out.
Oh, like the entire rest of the game.
Well, Shadowbringers in general.
Sure. I mean, I gotta say, like Shadowbringers is really weird in that like I'm not 100% like because like the first two expansions like it was really obvious like what like new areas they were leading up to. Like with in Realm Reborn they really emphasized the fact that like Ishgard was going to become a thing, and that's where we went for Heaven's Word. And then Heavensward, they really emphasized a lot of stuff with like Alamigo and beyond with like, the people from Doma and stuff. So like that was like super obvious that Stormblood was gonna be like those places. Like Shadowbringers is kind of weird in that they really haven't pushed an obvious new location. Like I guess Garlemald question mark, because we did have
Yeah.
a dungeon in the Burn.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like it's probably not just Garlemald. There's some other place we're going to. It's just like at this point, it's not clear. Although, I bet, Senor Blue Hand is going to be teleporting us somewhere.
Blue
We could,
Hand.
yeah, I don't know, whatever the Kingdom Hearts knockoff guy, like
Kingdom Hearts not good.
the guy that thinks he's Yen Sid. I don't know. Um, tell me I'm wrong, but that whole cutscene was just like straight of the start of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Was it?
Kind of was.
I
It doesn't help. The
I
Asians are Organization 13
I
just rebranded. But
is is it? Is it?
I mean, it's pretty close. Um, AC says Shadowbringers will be an experience. Nice. I did see the Shadowbringers trailer too, so I did watch that at the end of last stream, and so I've got a little bit of context, maybe. Um, but yeah, I mean, it seems like I guess we're maybe going to Garlemald, or at least like some province of Garlemald. Probably not going to like whatever the main city would be.
Okay.
But then Blue Hand, whatever guy, is probably going to isekai us, because like the way they were framing the, because like the all the signs that are out, down and out, they're saying it's like, well, their body's physically healthy, but like the spirit is elsewhere, kind of a thing. And so like that sounds like an isekai to me. Better be. To find the seven princesses of light and Shadowbringers. That sounds true.
You're just trying to look for the isekai and everything.
I want isekai. If I get through Endwalker and I never isekai even a once, I will flip tables. But um, but no, because it's like that's kind of like, as far as like where we're going, that's kind of like the thoughts I'm having. Clearly like Garlemald is finally like taken front and center for like they're finally kind of stepping up to become like primary antagonists. Like they've kind of been like the underlying threat through like most of the game. But like we're
Yeah.
starting to get like a lot more cutscenes with the Emperor. We're getting a lot more cutscenes with Xenos or whoever
What
that
did you
Ascian is.
What did you think of the Solus guy?
I hate him.
Hate.
I might hate him more than Yotsu, depending on how much screen time he gets. Like
He barely got a scene.
he talked.
Why do you hate
for,
him?
He
Why do you
talked
hate
for
him?
like 10 minutes nonstop. Like the most obnoxious like tone of voice I've ever heard from a character ever.
What do you
I
mean?
I couldn't, like I was like within like 30 seconds, like I was like I had to like tune him out because I couldn't stand it. Like um I just
I want to rewatch that scene. I want to rewatch that scene. I don't know what you're talking about.
he's so obnoxious. He's just terrible. Like he was mocking the Emperor. Like he basically like he has like this whole spiel about like, pathetic little humans and your silly little problems, and he's like I am so great and cool, and I use all these like fancy words to make myself sound smarter. And the whole time the Emperor looks like he just like wants to clobber him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, I don't know. And also I didn't even mention that like the worst plot twist, the fact that like Garlemald built by Ascians. I'm getting so sick of Ascians. Like so sick of them.
Well, why are you sick of them?
Well, it's just not fun. It like if every problem like leads back to like the same like people, it like the twist starts like losing its punch. Like the first couple of times where it's like oh man, it was an Ascian the whole time. It's like oh that's didn't expect that, but like now it's like well it's just always an Ascian. Like it's not a surprise. And
Was
like,
was it like that in Stormblood? The end of that?
I mean, yeah, that's how they basically, because like the way the way it's framed for me, like currently, like with the knowledge I have, like from the perspective of the Warrior Light, like Xenos died and was resurrected, or like his body was like repossessed by an Ascian. And that's all we know is like
Oh,
Xenos is now an Ascian.
okay.
We don't know. Well, actually, no, we do know because the Emperor talks to us during the negotiation table. Like we know that Garlemald was also founded by Ascians, by Solus, and so like it just comes back to like Ascians again. Um, Heaven's Word, it all came back to Ascian. Realm
Yeah.
Reborn came back to Ascian, and like, and part of that's like they're trying to lead up to like Ascians are like obviously like the big overall real threat of the universe, so to speak.
Well,
Um,
that is true. That you could kind of infer that from A Realm Reborn.
right, which is fine, but like my understanding had been that like Garlemald was like kind of separate but the same with Eorzea in the sense of like they were also aware of like the grave danger of primals, and they were probably aware of Ascians too, and they were like fighting the threat in their own way, which was, you know, arguably just as devastating as what the Ascians were doing. But like they were like a separate threat. But now
Hmm.
it's just the same threat, and that's much less interesting because now it's not a Mexican standoff. It's just two people, like in like it's like just two sides again. There's not like three different
I would
factions.
say I would say how I inferred that scene, the one with Solus and the Emperor kind of like talking, was that yeah, the thing with the it was built by Ascians, Garlemald.
Right.
Um, but over time it became something more than that. That sure the foundation was that, but then um not everyone either knows about it, like the general populace, stuff like that. I don't know. Am I explaining myself properly?
Well, no, I mean you're right because, and maybe I am simplifying a little bit because I'm annoyed. Because the Emperor is clearly not on board. Like he's trying to play both sides a little bit. Like he's still our enemy, but like he's also like their enemy, sort of.
Yeah, and
Like
Gaius was kind of the same too.
well, yeah, because
Oh,
Gaius was very straightforward in what he wanted, and that's like why he's not part of Garlemald anymore. Is because he hates Ascian so much.
and I don't think I don't think like in A Realm Reborn that Gaius knew that Ascian that Garlemald was under the control of Ascians or
Not,
started was
yeah,
built by Ascians.
not at that point, but at some point between there and by the time we meet him again, like he's figured it out,
Yeah.
and so it's like it's that thing of like, and there is a, it's like it's obviously like a big state here, like probably like only the Emperor and like a handful of other people know,
Yeah.
and there's like the Popularis faction that's trying to strive for more peace within Garlemald,
Yeah.
but it still comes back to the fact that like the major like antagonistic thorn of Garlemald is being headed by Ascians
Yeah.
because he's the one's like pushing for like all the wars and all the extra stuff, like, so I don't know.
Do do you know much about the Ascians? Like, is it ever explained like what their kind of motivations are, or is it kind of like ambiguous at this point in the
um
story?
I can make some inferences based on side content, especially with what was it, the Warring Triads fights
Yeah,
with Uno Kahai or whatever that guy kid's name was.
Uno Kalahai. Yeah,
The best character that never gets to any more content for some stupid reason. Um, because like basically like what happens like with his story, it seems like the Ascians are trying to take all 14 worlds and smash them back together
Okay.
for like whatever reasoning. They seem to feel like the Ascians seem to be trying to fight for like some like version of like their balance, I guess. Because like they have their god they believe in over Heidelin,
Yeah.
like, and that's really about all I've got. Like I don't know any of the fine details. That seems to be like the general thing they're going for, or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Okay.
But
So overall, just not a fan of Organization 13.
no, Kingdom Hearts 3 really ruined it for me. I'll be honest.
It ruined it for me too.
And so once again, Kingdom Hearts 3 bleeds through to ruin other Square Enix content.
Oh
But
no. Ain't no way.
so
Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out here taking names.
I mean,
It's like that one meme with the Reaper um going to each door and it's
yeah.
bloody
Oh
and
man,
the Reaper is Kingdom Hearts 3.
I was recently rewatching like a cringe compilation. And I totally forgot like there's like the one scene in Kingdom Hearts 3 where like I can't even remember like because like it's like Woody from Toy Story is like having like this like big like epic monologue.
Oh yeah, I
It's like
remember that.
it's like so weird because it's
Yeah,
coming from
it's
Woody, and I'm like, I was like, I think I must have spaced this one out.
oh man,
I'm
I could
sorry.
go on and
I'm
on
sorry,
and on.
Eagles. The other Kingdom Hearts games are pretty fun, and honestly, like, I
Yeah,
mean, 3 was fun to play. It was just such a roller coaster.
I disagree with that, but yeah. 1 and 2 are one of the greatest games of all time. Kingdom
Uh,
Hearts 1 and 2. Best
super
game.
fun, and
They're
even
they're
some,
like yeah, they're like in the top ranks of like the best games ever.
and like even
3,
some of the
no.
side games are honestly like a good time and like
Yeah, some of
interesting.
them are.
Like, but that's a whole other discussion that we don't have time for right now.
Yeah, we don't have time for it. Because I could go on and I could probably make Eagles very sad by my opinions on Kingdom Hearts. But I won't do that. I won't do that. I won't do that.
Granny's your guys' speech from Prey and SpongeBob's voice. Guys had such a good speech from Praetorium. Like,
For me, it's gotten so bad that I never want to play a Kingdom Hearts sequel ever again.
yeah.
If they release a Kingdom Hearts 4 or whatever, I'm not playing it. I
Oh,
refuse. I
so
refuse to play
sad.
it.
Benji liked
I'm
Cage too.
I'm
Cage 2
fine
is
with
pretty
Kingdom
good.
Hearts 1 and 2.
They were
Those are the only games I'll ever play.
they're very fun, honestly. Like I played both of those games to like max level. Like I took all the time to farm the extra resources just to get to like max stats,
Yeah.
just because I wanted to keep playing the game.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
anyway, so we can all agree that rather than playing Shadowbringers, next Sunday we'll be playing Kingdom Hearts 3 together. And I bet most of you won't even notice the difference. I'll still put
Yeah.
14 like on the thumbnail. And we'll just see how long it takes for someone to realize there's something different happening. I didn't play Chain of Memories for an hour and hated it. Yeah, Chain of Memories is pretty much like I played the game all the way through and I hated it the whole time. Like the game mechanic was so bad. But
You know you can honestly do it because aren't all the Kingdom Hearts games on Epic?
probably, I mean,
They are all. I think they are all
I think they were all released eventually. Yeah,
on Epic. Yeah. So if you want to play them on PC, you can.
the tune says minus 100 subs. I can't afford to lose 100 subs. I've been hemorrhaging subscribers. Ever since I started hating on 14, I've lost so many.
Yeah, yeah, they are in a bundle, Benji. But why buy the bundle
Just
when you
buy
can
the
just buy
two good
1 and
ones.
2? You just buy the 2 good ones, which are 1 and 2. I mean, yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I think we can all agree 14 is an 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
Best game ever made. Narrowly beating out Only Up, as much as I enjoyed that one.
Um, I have a lot of hot takes when it comes to Final Fantasy 14. I'll admit that. I have a lot
Sure,
of hot takes. I'm a very jaded player. I
sure.
play this is my closing thoughts. This is my closing thoughts. Uh, I think there's a lot of it that's good, but there's a lot of it that's questionable.
Hmm.
Um, the this expansion, well, Endwalker has not been the greatest. I think it, in terms of story content, it's probably been the worst out of all of the expansions. Even A
Wow.
Realm Reborn, even A Realm Reborn, at least to me, at least
I
to me.
mean, I liked Realm Reborn for the most part. So,
Um, and the end game has not been fun. Um, because the longevity of it is not there compared to other expansions. And I understand why in some ways this Endwalker has been very it the story was incredible, but it's like everything after. And I bet that you probably won't last, and you won't really get into like the end game of this game. Um, but uh, it's really a different beast once you get into it. It's not something for everyone, of course,
hmm.
but it really changes your perspective of the game when you get into hard content in the game.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's a double-edged sword because once you get into this content, you start seeing how different it is compared to everything else, you know,
Hmm.
and then it warps your perception of everything else. And when you're trying to do everything else, you're like, why is this so slow? Why is this so boring? You start to get like that. At least this is what happened to me. And then you become very jaded.
Hmm.
And then you realize that the game literally just copy pastes itself every expansion. And just to some that will some people like that. Some people don't like change, and I understand that. But it can be a double edged sword for people. And I like, don't get me wrong, I love the game. There's a lot that I don't like, and there's a lot that I like. I don't like Hildebrand. I like other stuff. So
Gasp.
uh I don't like the gold saucer. Like people like different things. People like different things. And luckily the game is made so it's tailored to different people. If you want to craft, you can craft. If you want to spend your time in the gold saucer, you can spend your time in the gold saucer.
Hmm.
Um, but my advice to everyone is just you're not supposed to do everything. And if someone complains that there's nothing to do, and then um and just because they don't do X content, like for me, I don't do I refuse to do Blue Mage content, and I refuse to do Island Sanctuary content.
Gasp.
Um, and I still say there's nothing to do. And I say there's nothing to do because there's nothing I want to do, you know. So yeah, just play the game, and if you find a piece of content you like, then play that piece of content you like. And you don't have to play every single content in this game.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of it. There's way too much of it. Um,
Right.
like you'll definitely see that when you get like if you ever get into crafting, there's like this whole like separate zone for crafting and a whole like intricate thing where you could hope like rebuild a certain parts of different zones.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of depth in a lot of certain things. And um I'd say just play with, don't be forced into thinking you need to play X content. Don't be forced into thinking you want to play raids or anything like that.
Hmm.
Even though I say that the game is a lot better once you start doing raids and X trials and stuff like that, because playing the game at that level is a lot of fun, at least to me, with learning your class, learning the ins and outs of rotations, the ins and outs of how can I do this rotation and move through this mechanic. I enjoy that, and I understand there's a lot of people that don't like that.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So all in all, the game, it has something for everyone, and that's what's great about it. So just find that one thing that you really like and get into it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And even if it's just like the story, if you get done with the story and Endwalker, and then you're just like, okay, I'm done until Dawn Trail, then yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You know,
Sure, sure.
if you want to skip the entire story, that's fine too.
I'm gonna skip every cutscene because Zaiga gave me permission.
I know a couple people who have skipped cutscenes all the time.
I'm sure there's always some players like that that are purely like game players. Like they don't want
Yeah,
story with their game.
yeah. And even though the story's really good in Final Fantasy, there's some people that don't like it, and that's fine. That's
Yeah,
totally fine.
they're just bad people.
Oh yeah, they're terrible people. You should lock them up. Like me skipping every single Hildebrand quest.
Yeah.
Oh, this bitch! I couldn't take it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't take it. Okay, I've done the Hildebrand quests and Stormblood and Heaven's Ward and stuff like that, and I thought they were okay, but
Hmm.
I just couldn't take it this time for some reason. I just couldn't take it.
Yeah. Just couldn't do any more of that Japanese humor.
No, it wasn't that. It was mostly just the absurdity that kind of like took me out of it because it didn't make sense for the world. At least that's my opinion of it.
No, I mean Hildebrand definitely like that. That is like 'cause I do enjoy Hildebrand a lot. It's just it's weird that it's in this game, if that makes sense. Like I feel like the Hildebrand stuff should be like its own universe because
Yeah, I agree.
it fits so weirdly with 14 as a whole. And
Yeah.
I guess I do have to do Hildy because I need that UFO mount.
Oh yeah, there's the UFO mount.
And once I get the UFO mount, I will never do anything else again that's not in a UFO.
It's gonna be a long time before you could get that mount.
I'll skip cutscenes. I'll get there next stream.
All right, I'll see it. Anyway,
UFO mount by the end of the year.
I think this was a productive conversation. Sorry that I think I might have spoiled you a little bit, but
It's all good. Everyone was spoiling me.
yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about it
Yeah.
without like light spoilers here and there. But
Right.
I feel like I have a good gauge of your thoughts about everything, and I look forward to hearing about your Shadowbringers experience.
Right. Right.
So I honestly feel like it'll like either like make it or break it for you. And
Right.
I'm really curious on your thoughts once you start and
Yeah.
once you finish.
Yeah, I mean, I am genuinely looking forward to it. Like, 'cause I do like my other grievances aside, I do want to experience the story.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see. It's like 'cause I I know when I've because I've committed to it this far, and I don't want to just like give up because like there's a couple of things that kind of bother me. Like I'll
Understandable.
because like I've there's been like some really good stuff out there where like you know, if I'd quit halfway through, I would have had like a completely different negative opinion of it. So
Yeah.
I want to at least give it its full due. Can't possibly be worse than Automata.
You know what? That's a conversation for a different time. Okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that my opinion of Automata has shifted,
yeah.
but
Kingdom Hearts streams Wences Eagles. I would not hate playing some of the Kingdom Hearts games. But
1 and 2 only.
yeah, I mean those are fun to like. Those would actually be fun to play. We could play Chain of Memories as like a hate stream, I suppose. But I don't know how many of the others I could. That's a whole other thing. Got to finish 14 first.
Yeah, I you're so close. I think I feel like you're very close. If you just like push a little bit, well, at your current pace, you'll probably finish Stormblood by the end of the year. It's Shadowbringers by the end of the year. But
Right.
no, take your time, enjoy
Yeah.
it,
I mean,
because you only go through it once.
right.
So
I would like to. I do want to speed up the pace a little bit, but also like I don't want to rush it. It's
yeah,
like I feel like right now maybe I'm going a bit too slow, but I
well,
also want to have time
by the
to.
time you by the time you finish it, the newest expansion will probably be out. So
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like when Dawn Trail comes out, I'll probably have to stop playing for at least a month or two because I don't have the patience to deal with crowds and load like wait times and queues and stuff.
yeah, I agree.
But
It's gonna be rough for the first week, I think. But I actually think we will be fine because we're on uh Dynamis. I
right,
think we'll be fine.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like I'll give it like a couple of test logins because the catch would be like if I need to make sure like I'm logged in like a couple of hours before the stream starts or something like that. Like that could be real hard to to figure out. But
Did you remember when I was doing the Endwalker early access?
I do remember you complaining about it. I think I remember particularly like there was like something you wanted to like show me, and you went to go log in. You're like, oh, the waiting time is like 50 minutes or something like it was some
Yeah.
crazy thing.
And I was having like DirectX 11 like crashes sometimes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually had a DirectX 11 crash right during one of the final fights of the expansion.
Oh man, that ruined the game for you forever.
It I got so mad because during this fight, like I just DC and it says DirectX 11 crash, and I'm like, oh, no! And then I log back in, and it says in a queue of 2,000 people.
Hmm.
I was like, oh no, oh no!
Oofers.
So I like
Sucks.
pulled up my laptop, sat in my bed, and then watched anime.
Just gave up. Yeah.
I gave up.
That's pretty valid. I'm sorry to hear
Yeah.
that.
All right. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks
for
for
joining.
Yeah, thanks for the really good conversation. Hearing my rambles about the game,
Yeah.
one jaded player to a newbie player.
Yeah.
Sorry if I like rambled on a little bit too long. I've more. I held myself back a whole lot from talking.
That's good. Well, we'll definitely do, future pods on this topic. I'm sure, like, either when I get further in the story, we could even just, like, do, like, just general other things.
I still want to do a stream of me helping you with your inventory.
Right. Uh, we could do that next Sunday. Like, that might be a good thing to do before Shadowbringer starts to get a fresh, clean slate on stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
opened up my inventory last Sunday, and I lost half of my viewers. And so it's making me
Okay,
think that maybe I have a problem.
okay.
So,
All right. We will we will do that on. You said Sunday, right? Or
sure, if you're available.
yeah, I'm available.
Cool. Maybe we'll do that then.
Yep.
People can look forward to that. No Shadowbringers, just sprinkling and
Do
cleaning.
do you have uh that one thing unlocked? Remember the Grand Company Seals thing I was talking to you about a long time ago? Do you have that unlocked?
Uh, I think I still have to do like a quest.
Okay, we'll do that too. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll get you all set up
Oh boy.
and
Maybe I'll even
we'll
get
get
my second retainer just for fun.
we're gonna get all
All of them. That's a lot of
we're gonna
retainers.
force you to use them.
Yeah, fine.
I don't think he does, Tune. I don't think he does.
He does have the turn-ins. I mean, I can turn in gear for Grand Seals if that's what you mean. I don't
Oh,
have there's some other part of it like that I can't do yet because I'm not a high enough rank.
oh, okay. Yes, Eagles. He doesn't have it unlocked yet.
I look, I unlocked Katolin, my cute cat boy, and I need nothing else.
I have four.
Yeah.
Though I'm not paying for two of them right now. I'm waiting until I get paid to reinstate them.
Fair.
Okay. We can also stream mine so I can show you how I organize mine.
Sure, that'd
And then
probably be.
you will learn to live in order instead of
Yeah.
chaos.
Oh, but what if I was trying to live like an Asian?
But you just said you didn't like them.
Maybe it's because I respect them too much. That's not
Ah.
true.
So what are your what are your streams going to be like for the this week?
Right. So Friday, playing Lies of P. Um, which I freaking love Lies of P. That's like my favorite game right now to play. It is very fun. And people are saying that I probably should try Bloodborne or like Sekiro or something after I finish it because apparently maybe I do like FromSoft games if I play the right ones.
Really?
But but no, like because I've been like playing like Lies of P like on my free time, just running around because I enjoy the gameplay so much. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm doing that one Friday with Smo. Saturday we're doing Elden Ring. I think we're maybe almost done. We're climbing into a crater that was built or made by Radon exploding. I think that's how that went
Okay.
down. And then Sunday will be Final Fantasy.
Sounds like a stacked week.
Yeah. So
Exciting.
when can we expect a stream from you, Zaiga?
Um, you know,
Yo, could you do like an IRL stream during your first day at your new job? Like how legal is that for you to do?
it's probably very illegal.
Yeah, dang it. It'd be so funny though.
um, I have I do have a YouTube channel.
Gasp.
but it only has 2 videos of it at the moment. Two
Whoa.
videos of it that I put up. It has me doing Honkai Star Rail content.
What's this channel called by chance?
It's Tempura.
Yes. Hold on.
And guess I could link it to you. I'll link it to you really quick. Let me pull it up. View my channel. I've only uploaded a couple Star Rail videos of just me. There's no voice at the moment.
Gasp. Secrets.
It's just me playing the game. Okay, I just linked it to you.
Uh,
Um, but yeah,
done it.
Honkai Star Rail is my favorite game at the moment.
We found it.
Um,
It's real.
I am a uh light to mid tier spender in it.
A mid-tier.
Mid-tier
Ooh,
spender. I'm
I'm a
not a full
subscribe.
whale yet.
And ring
As
the
much as
bell.
Benji probably thinks I am a whale, I'm
Yeah.
not a whale yet.
Benji says you're a whale, though. Benji would never lie. I trust him.
Benji's more than a whale than I am. Okay.
Baby whale.
Yeah.
Oh, Zaiga could do Kingdom Hearts streams.
Oh no.
That's a
I
plan.
can't. I can't. Okay, I can't. I can't. I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad.
Yeah.
I would be I would have the time of my life in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, but then 3 I would just be so mad the entire time. I'd be
Oh
mocking
boy.
it. Going like,
Ah.
Is this the place where we can find some ingredients?" Yes. Yeah. Be that guy.
Perfect. I think it says KH3 endurance streams. Perfect. Oh, that's right. Eagles did a bunch of like Kingdom Hearts videos. Like a bunch of
Oh yeah,
playthroughs.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so everyone
Well,
can go find this channel. If you find it, you're the winner.
yeah, you don't have to subdo it or anything if you don't like Honkai Star Rail content. I do have plans to make 2 videos of me talking uh about my accounts on Honkai Star Rail and my other game I play, Blue Archive.
Hmm.
But I'm kind of in the planning stages of those videos at the moment.
Oh
Um,
boy.
I'm kind of waiting a bit longer until I feel like I'm ready for for Honkai Star Rail. I'm kind of waiting until the 1 year anniversary, and um, for Blue Archive, I'm waiting until I'm a year into the game.
Okay.
But right now I'm compiling like
Footage.
videos, footage, B-roll, and
Nice.
writing a script for both videos.
That sounds like you're actually trying to make something quality.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to make them quality.
That's very cool. I look
So
forward to seeing those next week.
no, no, not that, not that early.
Fine,
I
we'll be a
was.
little more patient.
I forgot to tell you one last thing. Okay, one last thing before I end here.
Sure, sure.
Do you remember how I was so I was so into that near reincarnation game,
Yeah, you loved it more than like your own child.
and then I hated it. Remember that? Remember that? Remember that?
Yes.
It's ending its service. Okay,
Oh no.
so we found that out a while ago, and I've never been so happy in my entire life. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you going to do like an end of service live stream to celebrate it going? That'd be kind of funny.
Um, that would actually be funny, and I would actually kind of maybe want to do that. But yeah, that game end of service. Benji, you will not say a word of this to anyone, okay?
Yeah, when are we gonna change your PFP? I've asked you like for new things for like a while now. You've never sent me anything.
That's because I keep forgetting. I want to keep the same one, but remove Griff's head, and then
So
put in like a fireball or something,
so
a
harsh.
blue fireball. Be like a calcifer with a gun.
Yeah,
That's my thoughts. Okay.
sure, sure.
Okay. Anyway, um,
Great stuff.
it's been great. It's been great.
Well, thanks
And
everybody for hanging out for what ended up being an extra long podcast. Holy cow, what time is it? Jeez. Uh, but yeah.
uh,
Thanks to Banji and AC and Hatoon, Eagles, Carson, and Lala were here earlier, along with Smo. There's a bunch of people who came by today. It's cool. But
yeah,
yeah. And thanks to Zaiga for also being here.
yeah. Thank you for having me, as usual.
Hatoon says, I hope I never get isekai'd. That's very rude.
And also, again, we survive another week of this podcast.
Yeah. I think
We
I feel
haven't
like
got
we've
canceled yet,
I feel like we are even friends still. Usually
which is
the
surprising.
usually the episode ends as the final episode because we hate each other. Because you refuse to acknowledge my genius.
So surprising.
I
I
never
don't
I
know.
never I considering like I'm batting like 100 for 100 on the shows that I've talked about that you've been willing to watch and then find out they're actually good.
And I will say this right now: it's never gonna be Dangers of My Heart. Okay.
But serial killers need to find love too. What's so weird about that?
Everything.
It's like it just tolerates me. It's so mean. No, our
That's so
friendship is
true.
real.
That's so true.
It's real and profound.
He's been like this forever. I had to deal with it in Japan.
Sure, you had
It was
no
pretty
choice.
bad.
We had like what was that, like a little like 2 bedroom apartment? I don't think there was
Yeah,
anywhere you could stand in that where like we couldn't see each other.
yep.
Like
I still remember. I still remember that time when you bought Orimo right in front of me, and I was so mad.
that was a proud day. I
I was
think
like, "Why
everyone
do you like the show?"
I think everyone in the store was mad when I picked that up. Like like but God, that'd be a fun stream. Got to play Ori Emo on stream.
Oh my gosh.
I think it'd be funny. Anyway, we can end this here. So thanks to everybody. I hope y'all have a good rest of your night. And we'll see ya next time.
Yep. See you next time.
All right, bye.
Farewell. Peace.